lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
Hello, friends, and welcome to our coverage of the ECL Elite Division Live here on twitch.tv/SportsGamerGG. My name is Brandon Bigsby, aka B Major, and folks, it is the final day of the regular season, Decision Day, here in the Elite Division. A ton of stuff to go through, a lot of playoff and seeding implications that we will hear today, and our two matchups, arguably the most consequential of any of the series remaining. Our first being the two teams you see right here on the bottom of your screen, Parasite going up against Mythix. Those two teams are currently battling for the 2 seed, and then our next and final matchup will be Heimo going up against Tohtorit, two teams that are on the playoff bubble, and a couple of wins would do them a lot of good for their chances of making it into that top 8. Before we get into everything and preview our matchup between Parasite and Mythix, let's give you a quick look at the standings and show you how things look heading into today. And as you can see, Last Dance in full control of that number 1 spot, 63 points and 24 games played. They have a 97% chance of clinching that first spot. It would take a near catastrophic collapse for Last Dance to not end up clinching that 1 seed. So that is settled. As we mentioned, Mythix and Parasite, our matchup 2 versus 3, that is really where you're going to want to kind of look and pay attention at where things could end up landing. Those two teams will be fighting for the 2 and 3 seed. Exxon, as you can see, played a game earlier today. They actually lost that game, so they can no longer go much higher than that 4 seed than they are at. They actually lost 3-2 versus Nova in regulation. So that is a massive result for them. So Mythix and Parasite, they are clinched to be in the top 3. It's just going to be a matter of what order they are in. We have some more details on that in a little bit, but before we do get a little bit deeper into that, the rest of the standings, you see Mustakulta holding on to that 5 spot. You're going to be very happy if you were a Mustakulta fan or player to see the Exxon drop that game a little bit earlier today. You see Polsky Boys at 6, and then as we mentioned, Tohtorit versus Heimo, that's 7 and 8. They will be facing off right after this matchup. This will be Tohtorit's final 2 games of the season, so it's got to feel like a pretty near must-win situation for them. While for Heimo, they can really put themselves in a good spot if they can manage to get some points. Teams still in contention, V-Nexus, SSK Esports. Those are the teams, as well as Nova, that can still make it into the playoffs. Any other team is virtually eliminated from playoff contention. Blackbirds, the Blackjacks, Onsei Esports, Vapor, and Goons all out of playoff contention officially. So you've got really about 3 teams to 5 teams that are vying for those last 2 spots. Really last 3. Polsky Boys could still find their way sliding down the board, but nevertheless, a lot that's going to still be shaken out here. It's going to be a lot of fun to see where things transpire. And actually, Polsky Boys, a little bit of an update. They just finished their series of Onsei Esports. They split those 2 games evenly with regulation wins. So 3 out of 6 points for Polsky Boys. That's a massive result, by the way, for Vapor, because that officially means that Vapor could very well find themselves in a bad situation of being automatically relegated at that 16 spot. So we'll see how that shakes out. We mentioned Mythix versus Parasite. What is on the line for those 2 teams? The number 2 seed, we actually have the odds for both teams depending on the points that they can get. Starting out with Parasite, if they can collect at least 6 points, if they sweep both games, regulation victories, it would go up to an 88.84% chance of being able to clinch the number 1 spot. They came in at around a 22% chance of being able to have it coming into today's matchup. 5 points would give them over an 83% chance. And really anything less than 5 points, you're in a bit of a difficult situation. 27.62 with 4 points, and then you get really down to the slim pickings. 5.95% if they split, less than a 1% chance if they get 2 points, and if it's 1 point or less, Mythix automatically get that number 1 seed. And what do Mythix need to do for their number 2 seed odds? Well, things a little bit easier for them. If they can get 5 points or more out of the series, they clinch it. They are locked in to be that number 2 seed. A 99.3% chance if they get 4 points, so pretty close to automatically clinched. It would take something pretty drastic for them not to. 93.88% if they can split evenly. Still a 72.3% chance if they can get 2 points. They only get 1, however, things get a little bit more dicey for them at 20.6%. If they get 0 points, it'll go down to 11.07%. And something important to note, Mythix holds the current tiebreaker over Parasite, which is points per game. If those two end up tied in that, then it'll go off of overall wins. That includes overtime wins as well, which as of now, that actually is held by Parasite, 19 wins compared to Mythix's, or excuse me, it's actually held by Mythix. Mythix with 20 wins, Parasite with 19. So Mythix holds both tiebreakers as of now over Parasite. So currently Mythix favored to get that number 2 seed. If they can take care of business here today, they could very well clinch it. Let's take a closer look at both of these two teams to see how they have done coming into today's games, starting out with our team matchup. And as you can see, Parasite dominant offensively, Mythix right there with them. Both of these two teams averaging 3.65 goals for per game. That is second in the entire division, but Mythix a little bit better defensively, the number 1 team in the league in goals allowed per game of just 1.92. Parasite right behind them at the number 2 spot at 2.19. So two really, really strong teams. This is also the league's best power play at 43.9%, going up against the division's best penalty kill at 90%. So elite offense, elite defense, elite power play versus elite penalty kill. And interestingly enough, you see that PK there for Mythix, number 2 in the division, right behind Parasite as well. So these have been two of the dominant teams in the elite division all season long. They'll be going up head-to-head here today. Could potentially be a semifinals to finals kind of matchup, depending on how things shake out for the rest of the playoff picture. We'll see here how this ends up looking at the end of the day. Now to meet starting lineups for both these two teams. Starting out with Parasite over on the left side, and as you can see, the usual suspects that you would expect from this group. It'll be Vatu, Benito, and Ardo as the 3 forwards, while back on defense will be Tombo and Temu, and in between the pipes, Mike, while the starting lineup for Mythix, again, a lot of the usual faces. Tempinen at left wing, Mike's at center, and Sokelo at right wing, while back on defense, it'll be a Kunku at left D, and Vedux at right D, and Type Down in between the pipes in goal. Now going over position by position, looking at the matchup, starting with center. And again, Benito versus Mike's. We saw what Benito was capable of just a couple of days ago. If you were with us on Monday, that 5-goal performance that he had against Mustakulta in game number 2. We all know how good Benito is, the captain of this Parasite team, someone that just kind of seems to step up in whatever role that he has to play, whether that's more of an offensive role, a defensive role, but one of undoubtedly the best two-way centers that you will find throughout all of Europe. Him and Mike is going to be a very fun matchup to watch. Their stats relatively even with one another. Benito with a few more goals and a few more points, but everything else, not a lot separating these two. So Mike, someone that I think maybe has flown under the radar a little bit this season in terms of the premier forwards in the division. Going to be able to watch him here today as he comes in ranked as one of the better centers in the division heading into the day. Now for the winger matchups between these two sides. Again, Vatu and Ardo on the left side for Parasite, Tempinen and Sokolo on the right side for Mythix, and two winger pairings that have been dominant. And it's interesting because the rare times that we're seeing the winger duo of Parasite really be outpaced in terms of points. As you see, Tempinen with 56, Sokolo with 64, while for Vatu still a spectacular 59-point season. He's second in the division in goals with 35. Ardo, 44 points in 26 games played, a little bit lower than what we saw from him last season with Mustakulta, but again, still very, very solid numbers at over 2 points per game. really is just a testament to what Tempinen and Sokelo have been able to do over on that opposite end for Mythix, captaining two of one of the best offenses in the division with a team like Parasite that, again, broke the ECL record for goals for in a season just a season ago. Really impressive to see what those two have done, and it's going to be fun to see what Tempinen and Sokelo can do against one of the more stable defenses that we have seen in a long time in Parasite. And speaking of the defenses, let's give them a look, starting out with the side over of Parasite. Tombo and Teemu, just, I mean, again, so good this season. You see both of them with over 40 points so far, but again, it's their defense that just really stifles teams. And it's going to be big to see what they can do today, considering that they are facing off against a Mythix team that has proven to be very dynamic and has a lot of ways that they can score. So arguably the biggest challenge that Tombo and Teemu have faced offensively, other than maybe Last Dance a few weeks ago. We're gonna have to see if they can step up and whether Mythix offensively will be ready for that. But I don't want Akunku and Vedux to be outshined either. Both of those guys have been absolutely spectacular. You see Vedux, those point tallies, 26 games played, 54 points, 48 assists. I mean, that is absolutely just ridiculous numbers for a defenseman. I mean, he is just outside the top 10 in points for all skaters, leads defenseman in points by 12, which Teemu is behind him with 42. It just goes to show you how good he has been. And Teemu typically is the defenseman that is leading that category in points for that position. Vedux, however, has just been on another level, and Akunku has been the perfect partner with him so far this season. So did want those two to get their shine. Gonna be fun to see how they can do against the defending champions of Parasite. And then last but not least, the starting goaltenders for both these two teams. You see Unique on the left side for Parasite, Tyke down on the right side for Mythix. We got a look at Unique on Monday. Unfortunately, the stats don't really do him justice. He had a couple of games that kind of hurt him statistically. One now, I believe, was a 40 save percentage in game 2. So that's the reason that the save percentage was 77.3. He came in the Monday at around an 81 save percentage. That's a lot closer to what he truly should be at. Do not let those stats fool you. He has been absolutely spectacular. You see that 9-1-2 record. It gives you a bit of a look at how good he has been throughout the season. And you see Tyke down on the other side, 81.6 save percentage, has started all 26 games for this Mythix team, has 3 shutouts as well. He has been phenomenal all season long, maybe a contender potentially for goaltender of the year here in about a month's time. So this is going to be a fun matchup. Parasite versus Mythix. Again, a lot on the line. These two battling for the 2 seed. Neither side will be able to go lower than the 3 seed. So, you know, not anything too drastic if either side end up losing out on that number 2 position today. But, you know, still want to try to get as high as a seeding as you can. Playoff matchups are everything come playoff time. And speaking of everything else with playoff time, we will not be able to put on these playoffs without some of our amazing sponsors, one of them being Game Changer. They have an awesome deal here for the community. If you go to GameChangerOfficial.fi, put in that code SportsGamer10 at checkout, they'll give you a nice little discount code on your purchase. They have all kinds of amazing products, whether it's for performance, focus, relaxation, and just many other amazing things. It's just 2 capsules a day, easy to take. If you guys want to go and support them, go to GameChangerOfficial.fi, put in that code SportsGamer10. They've got an amazing deal for you guys waiting. And not only them, but WellNet, a great deal as well. If you go to health.sportsgamer.gg, use the code SportsGamer1. They'll give you a 1-month free trial. They have all kinds of amazing exercises, even some that are curtailed specifically for gamers. So go to health.sportsgamer.gg, use that code SportsGamer1. They've got a 1-month free trial ready for you right then and there. A big thank you to both Game Changer and WellNet for offering those deals for the community and for their support of the ECL. As you can see, both teams ready to go and underway. We are watching from the perspective of Mythix. We're in their home kind of Seattle Kraken themed uniform. So a Parasite in their road white and red. Cesaro, a nice move past the defender to move it into the offensive zone. Works up to the point to Tombo, who will have to reset. Again, both these two teams fighting for that number 2 seed. Neither can go lower than 3, but you want to get as high a seeding as you can. That can affect your matchups. It could be the difference between playing the 2 seed in the semifinals and playing the 7 in the quarters, or having that matchup with a 6 seed and a 1 seed in the quarterfinals and semifinals. So every position, every point matters, and a lot could change here based on these two games. As Mythix coming in holding that number 2 seed. Half possession right now as Akunku moves it up to Tempin. Finds Sakello, who works it down low to Mythix at the corner. Behind the net to Tempinen, who gives it up over to Akunku over left boards. Akunku looking for space, but nothing there for him, and that'll force him to reset. 5 minutes in now, this opening period. Mythix gives it to Sakello after the spin move. Now to Vedux at the point. Back to Tempinen. Working it with Vedux at that right boards, trying to find something, but nothing available to him. And here comes Parasite with a 3-on-2. Batu passes across it, they score! Teemu! In the back of the net on the one-timer. And Parasite kick off the scoring with a goal from Teemu, his 9th of the season. So Parasite draws first blood, a 1-0 lead here in the first period. That goal just a little bit under 7 minutes into this series. Mythix looking to counter with a response. Mythix has it at the left boards. Skates towards the slot, looking for something, but nothing available to him as that puck will go all the way down the opposite end. Batu will beat the icing and gives up to Tombo at the point. Tombo looking, trying to pass it across, but picked off there by Akunku. And here comes Mythix down the other end, Tempinen controlling it. Left boards, lost that puck and found by Benito. Parasite now working. Tombo with it. Reset, nice job by Mythix to get back and stop that rush. Teemu now in possession here for Mythix, working with Tombo. Gives it up to Vatu, stops, goes, looking for space in the slot, still has his shot on saved by Takedown. Puck loose behind the net, picked up by Mythix, and now Tempinen and company will work this up the ice. Kunku to break it out with Vedux. Poke checked at the blue line as he tried to cross, and picked up again by Vedux, who gives it to Mythix. Mythix with a move, spins, tries to pass it in front, but nobody home to pick that one up. Kunku with it. Gates forward at the corner to Vedux, looking, trying to feed Mythix, but picked off by Teemu, who goes up with speed. Down the other end, but an offside's called, as Aro was just about one stride ahead of him. For halfway through this first period, Parasite with a 1-0 lead. Teemu's one-time goal being the difference maker right now. Mythix trying to push down the other end. Tempinen at the left boards, back up to Akunku at the point, shift from the slot. Goes wide. That's Mythix. Tombu takes over possession, gives it to Benito. In the offensive zone now, Benito with a shot, goes wide, gets it back, and gives it up to Teemu at the point. Back to Benito now, at the corner. Looking for an option and goes back to Teemu, who feeds Benito back again. Those two just working together. Tombo now with it to Vatu. Vatu back at the point to Tombo. A weird animation there. Doesn't allow him to pick that puck up, and now force a reset. 3.5 to play. Moved up there, but turned over by Parasite. Here comes Sakello for Mythix. With it at the right boards, takes a big hit there from Tombo, and Parasite now on the counterattack. Vatu controlling it. Gives it to Teemu. Turning up to Tombo at the point. To the slot to Aro. Puck loose in front. Found by Benito. Back up to the point now again to Teemu. Turned over there as that pass attempt to Vatu is broken up. Less than a minute to play now in period 1 as Mythix will dump it in and will not chase it. So Parasite with possession. 20 seconds to go. Slap shot in by Tombo. Puck given chase and found by Ardo. Tempinen gets it. Up to Mythix, now to Sakello. Final rush for Mythix. Trying to get that pass across, but disrupted. And that will do it for period number 1. Parasite with a 1-0 advantage on the one-time goal from Teemu. Just 7 minutes into the first period. The right defender lets it rip. His 9th goal on the campaign and gives Parasite that 1-goal advantage after 20 minutes. As we'll get a look at the stats here for both sides after that first period, and gotta feel like Parasite likely gonna have the heavy advantage in terms of the shots and a good bit of the time on attack. And Relatively unsurprising, although Mythix had more time in attack there than Parasite by a few seconds, 251 compared to 248 in favor of Mythix, but no shots on net for Mythix when they were in the zone, so Parasite doing more when they've had that offensive zone time. As you get another look at that goal by Teemu, it was the pass over from Vatu. You see he's wearing that gold helmet. For those who aren't as familiar with the gold helmet, the player who wears the golden helmet is the points leader for their respective team, that being Vatu for Parasite and being Sokelo for Mythix. As we are underway for period number 2, we want to thank our sponsors, Coven on Occupancy, Game Changer, and WellNet for their support of SportsGamer and the ECL. What we do would not be possible without their support. Make sure you go check them out and show them some love. We got some great deals going on. You can see the links to those in our Twitch chat. As Mythix have possession, and looked like they're just going to reset. Didn't like what they saw, as trying to slap that up there was Vadux, but to no avail. Parasite now with possession. Vatu at the boards. Looking for a play, but broken up and refound by Ardo. Vatu gets it back, tried to pass in front, but picked off by Akunku. He controls it now behind his own net. A little bit of pressure from Parasite on the forecheck, but they now back out of it. As Sokelo tried to get it past the blue line, but an offside's called. With 16 minutes to go in period number 2, Parasite stifling defensively so far. Mythix, they've had some time with the puck, but not able to do much with it. Still no shots on net so far in this game. As Tombo controls it with Teemu for Parasite. Teemu in the neutral zone, gives it up to Benito, but an offside called as Vatu is about a half skate ahead of him there past that blue line. Face-off upcoming. Benito and Miguez at the dot. Won by Miguez, but turned over as Benito poke-checked it off with the stick of Vadux. Found, however, by Akunku. He tried to get out of that tie-up and turns it over. Combo trying to pass it over and gets it to Benito. Benito at the high slot. Looking for space. At the corner, shot on, saved by Takedown. Puck loose behind the net. Found by Vadux. Gives it up to Miguez, and now Mythix trying to counterattack on the rush. Tempinen controlling it, back to Akunku. Back to Tempinen at the boards, but lost there. Ardo, a nice job defensively, forcing Mythix to reset. Mythix still searching for their first shot on net today. Parasite take over possession in the offensive zone. Teemu controlling it, goes down low to Ardo. Lost that puck, a nice defensive job there by Akunku to disrupt that play. That's Mythix, quick passing, but turned over. Vatu past the blue line, evades the defender, working it here, trying to find some room to work in the slot, but did not do so. And Mythix now in the offensive zone. Mike's trying to get that shot off, but poke checked away. And found by Kunku in the neutral zone. Halfway through now. 8.5 minutes to go in period 2. Parasite holding on to that 1-goal advantage. Teemu's goal early in the first period. Kunku controlling at the point for Mythix. Over to Mike's trying to get a shot off. Pass across there from Vadux. Picked off there by Parasite. Mythix still in possession, however. Kunku at the boards. Over to Mike's, pass in front. Can't get a shot, but Mike's recovers the puck over in the corner before turning it over. Vatu got that puck loose, and now Parasite with possession. Tombo starting the breakout. Reaching the 5-minute mark now here in the second period. Only 3 shots between these two teams, all of them by Parasite, but Sokelo looking to change that here. Puts on a move, pass across, puck found there by Unique, who will hold on and freeze it. Still not a registered shot on net there from Mythix, but their first offensive zone face-off of the game coming up right now. It'll be to the left side of Unique. One back to Vadux. Has a cross shot there from Tempinen, was blocked. Tombo slapped that in the neutral zone, and Ardo will work with his 2 forwards. Turned over. Nice job there from Mike to disrupt that play. Approaching the 3-minute mark now here in the second period. Akunku at the point for Mythix. To Tempinen now. Tempinen back to Akunku. Now over to Vadux. Hope checked away there. Nice job there by the two wingers of Ardo and Vatu with a one-time shot there, goes wide. Good chance for Parasite, but not able to take advantage. They have possession here again. Tombo controlling it. Working it up, pass across there. Nobody home to pick that one up on Benito's attempt. 30 seconds to go. Sokello over to Mythix. Pass in front. Shot on. Saved there by Unique. First shot of the day there from Mythix. Another chance here. Shot saved into the glove of Unique again. As that will do it for period number 2. Mythix with their first 2 shots of the game with less than 20 seconds left. Both of them rather dangerous, however, but Parasite holding on to their 1-0 lead after 40 minutes. Only 1 shot on net for Parasite in that period, and then you saw those 2 shots from Mythix that were their first 2 of the game. So a very defensively heavy game. Not a lot of action from the offenses. The goaltenders have had to be alert. And it's been defense, 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 as the stats suggest. Very even across the board. Not a lot of opportunity for either side. As you get a look at the 2 attempts here from Mythix. There's that last shot that you saw. Now it's gloved away by Unique, and then this one right here, oh man, Tempinen, he had a little bit of room there in that left side, but shot it into that right pad of Unique. And then there's the lone shot from Parasite earlier on in that second period. So that was all 3 shots that you saw. Not often that you get a look at every single shot from the period, but all 3 relatively dangerous opportunities. It's been about quality rather than quantity in this game. Parasite with the lone goal to give them a lead here as we are now underway in the 3rd period. The next goal feels like it could be all important. Parasite turned it over in the offensive zone. That pass to Tamu was off and forced them to reset. Tombo will work this thing up here for Parasite on the break-in. Tried to give it up to Benito, but it was turned over, and Mythix now has it for Mythix. Mythix with possession now, trying to get past Tombo, but turned over. An offside call as Mythix touched up on that puck, and we'll get a neutral zone face-off coming up here. Remember, we'll have one more game between these two after this one. Well, it's 2 games between Tohtorit and Heimo, the 2 teams holding the final 2 playoff spots coming into today's action. So some consequential games that we're covering here on broadcast today. This is the final broadcast day of the regular season. We'll have some games played throughout the division tomorrow, but most of those games will be played more than likely by Nova, who have 10 games remaining coming into the day. There's some other series going on outside of our coverage here today, too. So we'll make sure to keep you abreast on everything happening throughout the Elite Division, not just in our matchups, but some of the other matchups going on. As here comes Mythix, 2-on-2 pass across there. Could not find Mythix. But Mythix still in possession in the offensive zone. Turned over there on that spin attempt. Now Parasite going to work on the offensive end. Ardo with it. Now to Tamu. Behind the net with Benito controlling it. Poke checked away, tied up, it gets it out of his stick, and now Tombo has it for Parasite over on the left side boards. Over to Tamu, pass across there, poke checked away by Mythix. Could have been dangerous. Mythix now in possession. Mythix with some space. Has it, backhand shot there, hits the side of the net, but finds Unique, who will stop play with 11.5 to go here in regulation. Offensive zone draw coming up here for Mythix. Tied up, won by Mythix. Vedu controls at the point, rings it around. Puck given chase and found by Tamu for Parasite. Moves up to Ardo, up the boards, but bumped off of that puck there. A nice defensive play made by Tempinen. Tempinen now in control of it. Looking for some space, but nothing there in the slot, and they'll turn it over. Now Parasite controls this. Checked away, however. Now Mythix going down the other end. Back and forth, these 2 teams have been a lot of turnovers from both sides. The defense has started to show for each of these 2 teams. Not a lot of shots, and the goaltenders have not been very busy, but defense in front of them has been nothing short of spectacular. I feel like the way this game is going, goes to the advantage of Parasite with that 1-goal lead, with just a little over 7 minutes to go now in this third period. Mythix half possession. Kello with it over at the right boards in the neutral zone. It's a pass the blue line. Akunku over to Mythix. Mythix holding it at the left corner. Not a lot of pressure. Looking for something. Goes back to Akunku at the point. Back to Mythix now. Mythix holding back to Akunku again. They're working it over at that left board. Finds Mythix. It's a loud shot. Goes wide. Another chance there. Finds Unique, who will play this one out. A little bit of pressure being applied by Mythix here on the forecheck. Parasite looking to get out of their own end, and they do. Vatu had it for a moment, found by Ardo, back to Vatu. Shot does not go off as it was poke checked away before he could get it on net. Puck loose at the corner, recovered by Mythix. 3 minutes to go now in regulation. Mythix looking for the tying answer. We've had 1 goal in this game, a one-timer save by Unique. Best chance of the day so far for Mythix. Can they get another? Akunku pass in front, shot on, goes wide. A delayed penalty going to be called, however, on Parasite. Benito will head to the box, and a massive power play opportunity coming up for the #1 power play in the division. Mythix in control in the offensive zone. One-time shot, and he scores! Off the post and into the back of the net. He ties it for Mythix with just under 2 minutes remaining. We just said it, the #1 power play in the division. Mythix came in at just under 44% on the man advantage. Parasite, the #1 PK at exactly 90%. They break right there, and Mythix tie this up at 1 apiece. 90 seconds to play. Just their 4th shot of the day. And they're looking for another. Remember, big points here. On the line between these two teams. It's a pass in front. Nobody there to get that one. 50 seconds remaining now. Tombo gets it past the blue line for Parasite. Pass in front. Puck loose. Save there on this quick shot attempt. Tyke down, able to get that left pad on it, and he'll hold on and freeze it. 4 shots apiece here with 42 seconds remaining. Offensive zone face-off for Parasite. 1 back to Tombo. Oh, checked away, but Tombo recovers. Gives it to Vatu. Vatu back to the point to Tombo. Tombo skates forward. Gives it to Ardo. Ardo over to Vatu, but poke checked away into the neutral zone. Parasite gonna have to reset here. 25 seconds to go. Parasite needing 3 points. Their chances increase drastically here if they can find their way to a regulation victory. Tombo trying to work past the blue line, but an offsides call. Little time remaining, 16.4 seconds to go. Neutral zone face-off coming up here. Controlled by Mythix now in the offensive zone, but they're going to retreat as they lost it. Tamu on the rush. 6 seconds to go. Parasite looking for a final goal. Vatu, pass over to Tamu. Shot saved by Tyke down. And he'll freeze it with 1.7 seconds remaining. Unique will be out of the net as an offensive zone faceoff comes up for Parasite. They have 1 chance for a shot, maybe, if they win the faceoff cleanly. They do. Shot from Table, blocker saved by Tyke down. And we will go to overtime here in game #1. So both teams secure a point. Which is big, because remember, Mythix need at least 5 points out of this series to clinch outright. So if they lose this game in overtime, they will not be able to clinch that #2 seed in this series. Now, obviously, both teams will still have some games remaining after this. They both came in with 4 games remaining. They'll end this series with 2. But Mythix could clinch outright with 5 points at least in the series. They have to get an overtime win, though, to do that. As you get another look at the goal to tie things up, it was Sokelo's overtime taking goal there. As you can see, the one-timer goes right through the defense. Not a lot of room there, and I can't imagine Parasite will be thrilled about that, but nevertheless, we've got some extra hockey here. Overtime between Parasite and Mythix, number 2 seed, in the balance between these two sides. Ardo in the offensive zone for Parasite, trying to find some space, but picked off by Tempinen. Moves it up there to Akunku. Stops the boards, gives it up to Sokello. Sokello working behind the net, hits the post. A chance there, but to no avail. Parasite now down the opposite end. Teemu controls it. Got the 1 goal earlier for Parasite. That was with just around 13 minutes to go in the first period. It's now having in the offensive zone. Akunku at the left point. Almost lost it, but recovered. Still controlling it now. Gives it up to Veidux. Veidux over to Mythix. Mythix at the left corner. Gives it to Tempinen. Shot on. Saved there by Unique. Puck loose behind the net. Found by Mythix. Trying to pass in front, but picked off by Vatu. And here comes Parasite down the other end. Teemu had it. Turned over there as Akunku was all over him defensively. Mythix working it up the offensive zone. Some space for Sokello. Trying to get that shot on, but couldn't keep that puck. Job from Teemu to break the play up. Parasite now on the breakout. Vatu at the left board, stops, looks, tied up there by Sokello, poke checked away, and here comes Mythix. Tempinen up the right boards, poke checked off his stick, however, and Parasite now going down the opposite end, dumped in by Vatu. As Parasite did not have anything offensively going for them. This is Tempinen this time up the puck, gives it over to Sokello. Checked off the stick by Benito, however. That's been the story of this game, a lot of poke checks. Disrupting these plays, disrupting the cycle from both teams. As Parasite not able to break it in the offensive zone cleanly, and offsides called. 10:52 to play in overtime. Our next goal will be the winner. Mythix have to get an overtime victory in order to potentially clinch that 2 seed in game 2 with a shot from Ardo saved by Takedown. And off the stick. Parasite still pushing, however. Behind the net is Vatu. Gives it to Teemu at the point. Now to Tombo. Tombo to Ardo at the left corner. Back to Tombo at the point. Over to Vatu. Trying to get that shot off, but it goes wide. Benito with possession now. Trying to pass in front to Vatu at the high slot, but picked off. Here comes Mythix down the other end. Tempinen controlling it. Over to Mythix to Akunku at the point. Skates forward. Looking pass across. Finds Mythix. Shot goes over to the net. And it's picked up by Teemu. Parasite now down the other end. Could not control it for long as Veidux gets the puck for Mythix. Mythix controlling it, but that pass was off. Picked off by Parasite. Teemu in the neutral zone. An offside call to Sokello disrupted that breakout. 6:12 now remaining in overtime number 1. 5 shots for Mythix, 7 for Parasite. Zone face-off won by Mythix. As Akunku pushes in the offensive zone, but it's turned over. Here comes Benito. Puts on a move, gives it to Vatu. Vatu, nice defensive play by Veidux, but Teemu gets it back. Back to Vatu again here at the corner, who gives it back to Teemu at the point, working over on the right boards. Benito in control now at the corner, gives it to Vatu. Poke checked off of the stick and picked up by Sokello. Veidux at the right side. Holding it, looking for an option. Has some space at the point, gives it up, shot on, patted away there by Unique. Parasite not allowing for another opportunity. They get out of their own end and move it into the offensive zone. Vatu back to the point to Tombo. Tombo to Benito at the corner. Benito looking, trying to find an option, but nothing there for him. A 2-on-2, potentially 3-on-3 for Mythix as Tempinen gives it to Akunku at the point. Skates forward, stops, turns, looking, still controlling it despite the pressure from Ardo, and finally loses it. Less than a minute remaining here in overtime number 1. Tombo with it to Vatu behind the net. Goes back to Benito behind him. Now the Teemu at the point, now the Tombo. Vatu at the left boards, off of his stick and picked up, but lost there by Mythix. Ardo has it for a moment. Puck scrummed and battled for and found by Tombo at the point. Benito controls it, trying to pass it across, but found by Mythix. 30 seconds remaining now. Mythix speeds his way up the right boards, pressured by Vatu, but found by Mythix. Mythix poke checked away by Tombo, puck scrum for at the corner, and picked up by Vatu. 18 seconds to go. Ardo had it for a moment, but Mythix gets it off of his stick. Mythix in the neutral zone, 10 seconds to go. Turned over, but recovered by Mythix. Mythix trying to pass it up. It's found by Unique with 3 seconds to go, and he'll give it up to Tombo, and that will do it. One overtime, not enough. We're going to a second. We still remain tied at 1. Mythix looking to clinch potentially in the next game with an overtime victory here. Parasite looking to improve their odds at that number 2 seed. As at least 2 points would ensure that Parasite can take their chances past this series. 3 points, again, would give them at least a 5.95% chance. 4 points would give them over a 27% chance, while if you get to 5 points, that's where your chances really become good if you're Parasite. Over 83% if they can secure 5 points. Not going to be able to secure 6 points, obviously, and that would have given them a near 89% chance at the 2 seed. So 5 points is the goal for Parasite, but they have to win in overtime here to get there. A massive swing that can change the effects of game number 2. And it'll potentially be decided in overtime number 2 as we're underway. Combo dumps in the offensive zone, but it's found first by Akunku. Want to make sure we thank our sponsors really quick. Coven on Accuracy, Game Changer, and WellNet. As Mythix have it in the offensive zone, pass across, found by Tempinen, who gives it back to Mythix. Over, however, as Ardo picks it up for Parasite and moves it to Vatu. On by Tombo, but an offside called. You'd be surprised if there's only 13 shots between these two teams and over 80 minutes of play. Been fast-paced, a lot of passes. Just the defense of both these two sides, that good. It's a turnover from Parasite, and here comes Sokella with some space and some speed. Gives it up to Tempinen, but can't get a shot off. Found by Mythix, but turned over, and now Parasite looking to work it up. Tombo controlling it and giving it to Ardo at the right boards. Poke checked off of his stick, and now force Parasite to reset. Tombo in control of it. Poke checked away, and a breakaway potentially for Mythix. Pass across there. Shot was found, however, by Unique as he'll hold on. It was kind of a weird backhand pass across kind of move, but it finds Unique cleanly, and he'll freeze it. A nice job from Parasite avoiding the potential breakaway there from Mythix, who has speed. An offensive zone face-off by Mythix, squandered by Parasite. Parasite in the offensive zone. Vatu dumps it in behind the net. Controlled by Benito. At the left corner. Up to the point to Tombo, now to Teemu. To Vatu, back to Teemu. Teemu under some pressure by Tempinen and gives it over to Tombo. Tombo, pass to Aro, shot blocked in front. Benito gets it over to Teemu at the top of the point. Tombo controlling it. Takes the shot, gives it back to Teemu. Heimo at the right boards. Looking for space. Gives it to Benito. Pressured by Tempinen. Benito working. Gets a shot in front there, but doesn't register on net. Another shot hits the side of the cage this time as Mythix gets it for Mythix and moves it up. Some space for Akunku. Nice little move. Still controlling it. Unique had to be sharp there. Finds that puck and will freeze it. Now Parasite gonna have to win a defensive zone draw here coming up. Unique and Benito set to take the faceoff. To the left side of Unique. Won by Mythix in the offensive zone, but Mythix missed it, and he's gonna have to reset now. Big break there for Parasite. Mythix back in the offensive end. Tempinen at the corner, trying to skate towards the slot, but a nice defensive play there by Vatu to break that play up. Here comes Parasite down the other end, but turned over, but recovered by Benito. Combo starting the breakout here for Parasite, halfway through overtime number 2. Tempinen now with it for Mythix. Moving it over, trying to give it up, but could not get that off of his stick in time, but recovers it there. Finds Sokello, shot on from Mikes was saved. And now Parasite gonna slow things down here just a touch. In the offensive zone is Benito. Back to Tombo behind them at the point. Skates forward, pass across, tight down. He denies Vatu with that left-hand glove and freezes it. An offensive zone draw now for Parasite. Just over 5 minutes to go here in the second overtime period. Mythix winning in their own zone. Now in the offensive end. Sokello controls it at the right boards. Looking for space. Big hit there from Tombo to break that up, but recovered by Tempinen. Shot saved by Unique. Teemu with speed for Parasite. Tried to give it over to Vatu, but broken up. Covered by Parasite, however, to stop that rush. Tombo finds Vatu at the left boards. Vatu behind the net, but picked off by Akunku. Tempinen lost. Nice job there from Benito to stop that play. The Vatu now found by Ardo, trying to move it back to the point, but the pass was behind Teemu. Forces a Parasite reset. Less than 90 seconds to go now. Tombo trying to bank it off the boards up to Ardo, but it's turned over, and now Mythix with possession. Pass across, couldn't find Mikes. Parasite now with possession. 50 seconds remaining. Vatu at the left boards, up to the point to Tombo. One-time shot, tipped in front, saved by Tight Down. Who will jump on that puck and hold on to it. We haven't seen a tip play from either side. That's what makes this Parasite team so dangerous. They'll pull something out of their hat when you least expect it, but Tight Down was ready for that one. Defensive zone draw won by Mythix. 37 seconds now. Kunku with it. Working it into the offensive zone. Patted away there on that pass. Unique got a piece of it. Teemu loses it on that poke check behind from Tempinen. Versus a reset for Parasite. 20 seconds to go. Tombo on the breakout. Dumps it in. Puck given chase and found first by Kunku for Mythix. Turned over, however. Benito gets it. Pass across to Vatu, but picked off by Vedux. 8 seconds to go. Mythix on the rush. Kunku with it. At the left side. Pass across. Puck loose in front. Shot on. It's Unique skate. Another chance. In the dying seconds of overtime, Unique denies Mythix. And we're going to a third overtime period now. These two teams will not stop, will not rest, will not break. As remember, we still have 3 more games of action coming up, including another game between these two teams. As you got a quick peek at the stats there, let's take another look at that final chance there from Mythix. You thought they might have had the winner. You see the shot on from Tempinen, another chance there in front from Mikes, but Unique would not be denied on that play. Makes 2 critical saves there in the last couple of seconds to keep this game going and to keep Parasite's chances of winning afloat. Overtime number 3 now coming up. Face-off won by Mythix. Vedux moves it to Sokello. Down but turned over. Ardo with some space. One-on-one. Puts on a move. Shot. Vatu wins it in triple overtime. And their hopes that the 2 seed are still alive. The leading goal scorer for Parasite, with his 36 on the season, wins it in triple OT. As good as gold, Vatu on the pass from Ardo. As you get one more look at it, it was the turnover from Mythix that led to the one-on-one. Vedux did a good job getting back, but it turned into a 2-on-1 as Vatu joined the rush. He passes across, hits him in stride, and Parasite secure 2 points out of this series. Mythix not going to be able to clinch that 2 seed regardless of the results in game number 2. A massive result for Parasite as you get one more look at it. That move there from Ardo, the pass over to Vatu was spot on, and you saw, Vadux did about all he could do there. He covered it well, but Vatu just able to get past him. Tyke down, not able to make the save. And Parasite, a 2-1 victory in triple overtime, as we will bring you back into the booth. It's been, let's see, about 45 minutes since I've seen you guys. Brandon B. Major Bigsby with you as Parasite with a triple overtime victory. And folks, we're not done between these two teams. They've got another game coming up. They basically just played 2 games in 1. We'll get game number 2 started here in just a few minutes. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsors, and then when we come back, game number 2 between Mythix and Parasite coming up on the other side. Folks, don't go anywhere. After that introduction to this broadcast, why would you want to? We'll be right back in just a few moments.
Welcome to the SportsGamer Health and Performance Program. Nice to have you here. Here you have a large amount of different workouts from Wellnet, but also material just exclusive for you gamers. In your sessions, we focus mostly on neck and shoulder mobility, back health, and concentration. So give it a try and let us know what you think about it.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
All right, we are back. There was a little bit of a technical difficulty between the two teams getting into the lobby, a bit of a connection issue. So we'll bring you back into the booth one more time. Brandon Bixby with you, aka B Major. And while we do get things set, we'll take you back real quick. Probably a long time since you remember what the playoff picture looks like, considering that game was about 45 minutes. So we'll give you a look at how things have updated. That last game actually is also in the standings as well. So we'll give you another look at how things look heading into this game number 2. As you can see, Mythix able to get a point. They get up to 59 points, but Parasite, with that all-important extra point, they move up to 57. Both teams with 27 games played, only 2 points separate them. If Parasite can get the win in regulation, they would not only surpass Mythix in the standings, but they would also have an 83.7% chance of clinching the 2 seed. That is if they get 5 points. If they win again in overtime, that would go to 27.62%. While for Mythix on the other end, if they can manage to steal 4 points out of this, it would give them a 99.3% chance of winning. While on the other hand, 3 points, 93.88. 2 points would give them 72.35. So really, the big thing for Mythix is do not lose in regulation. For Parasite, you want to win in regulation. It is a massive shift in implications between overtime win and regulation win, or overtime loss and regulation loss for both these two teams. So a big game coming up, something to keep in mind. Exon is at that number 4 spot. Remember, they're not going to be able to pass Mythix mathematically. More than likely not going to be able to pass Parasite mathematically. It would take Parasite losing every single game in regulation. Exon would also have to have the tiebreaker over them as well, which they currently do not. So Exon more than likely locked in from a 4 to 6 standpoint. They actually lost their game earlier to Nova 3-2 in regulation. So they dropped some points right there. So that takes them out of the running potentially for a top 3 seed. And we talked about this earlier, our next series between Tohtorit and Heimo, that is between number 7 and number 8. Tohtorit pretty much going to have to accrue some amount of points out of that series to make the playoffs. Heimo, this series not overly consequential, but could very well swing their odds either to extremely favorable to a little bit less favorable, depending on how things go, as the teams on the right side of the board still eligible. Nexus and SSK Esports and Nova. Those are the 3 teams that still can mathematically make the playoffs. Nova, obviously, a steeper hill to climb, but more games still to play. We'll try to keep things updated for you throughout the league as things go on throughout the day, with this being our final regular season day. But Parasite and Mythix have now matched up. So game number 2, about to get ready to go. We want to shout out our sponsors one more time. COVID, I'm not going to see. Game Changer and WellNet for their generous support of SportsGamer and the ECL. What we do would not be possible without them. Make sure you go show them some of the love that they show us, as we are again watching from the perspective of Mythix. They're in their road whites, while Parasite in their home reds. Game number 2 underway between these two sides, as Parasite have it in the offensive zone, but the puck goes out of play, and we'll get another face-off in the offensive zone of Parasite. Again, game number 1 decided in a triple overtime. Parasite with the 2-1 win. Vatu got the game-winning goal. A 2-on-1 pass from Aro. We talked about the implications, how big of a game this is in terms of the seeding. Parasite making things interesting, looking to overtake Mythix for that number 2 spot. Mythix looking to put it in a stranglehold with a win. They'll have their work cut out for them against the defending champions in Parasite. Defeated Mustakulta in 6 games in the finals last season. Arguably the most dominant season in the history of the ECL. His first shot of the day for Mythix. A dangerous one, blockered away by Unique. They didn't get their first shot of the game in game number 1 until the dying seconds of period 2. Found their offense a little bit more as that game went on, as they have it in the neutral zone, but it's turned over. Nice pickoff there from Vatu. Parasite now in possession. Otto with it at the right board, stops, looks, and dumps it around behind the net. Picked up by Vedux for Mythix. Happening with his fellow forwards working it up, but poke checked away. Found, however, by Mike's in the neutral zone, but turned over again. Tamu passes over to Vatu. Vatu stopping, looking, gives it back to Teemu. Teemu skates forward, pass across in front there, but checked away. Now Mythix down the other end, trying to work into the offensive zone, and they do. A Kunku pass in front, saved by Unique. Another chance here for Mythix as it's controlled by Kunku at the point. Now the Mikes. Back to Kunku. Over to Vaydux. Vaydux at the right point. Works it over to Tempinen. At the left face-off circle, bumped from behind by Benito, but gets it back. Kunku at the point, skates forward, looking for a pass in front, but up there by Parasite. Parasite now in the offensive end. Shot from Tombo, saved. Potentially another chance there, but it was touched up on by Mythix as there was a delayed penalty called against them. So Parasite, their first power play of the game coming up here. First power play of the series as well. Teemu at the point. Skates forward, gives it back to Tombo, over to Vatu, but the pass picked off there from Sokelo. We'll dump this one all the way down. Vaydux was the one that took the penalty from Mythix. He's in the box for another minute here. Halfway through this Parasite man advantage. They control it in the offensive zone. Tombo with some space. Looking for a passing lane or a shot and gives it up to Teemu. Teemu passing in front to Vatu, but turned over. And now Mythix going to skate this down the other end. So Kello with it. Disrupted, however, by Parasite. A potential 3-on-2 development. Vatu, back to Tombo. Back to Vatu again. Shot on. Saved there by Takedown as Vaydux out of the box. And now back to even strength. Shot there from Tombo. Finds Takedown, who will hold on and freeze it. 6:36 to go in period number 1. So an unsuccessful power play for Parasite. They came in at 24.24%. Ranks 8th in the division. With a shot there blocked in front. Parasite still in the offensive zone, however, but that pass at the point, Tombo not there to get it. I'll kill off the full pressure meter that Parasite had gotten. Vatu up to the point to Teemu. Evades a defender. Gives it to Benito at the left corner. Pass in front was disrupted by Mythix, and now will force another reset here for Parasite. Approaching the 4-minute mark here in the first period. Still scoreless between these two sides. A shot there from Vatu was denied by Takedown. 4th shot of the game for Parasite. 4 compared to 2 for Mythix. Vatu at it. The left boards. Shoots it in and picked up by Parasite. Benito has it at the point, dumps it down low to Aro. Pass in front, but picked off. Recovered by Benito at the point. 2 minutes now to go here in the first period. Benito at the point with it. Looking around. It's on a move, trying to find the passing option. Does, and Tombo at the point. Vatu trying to give it back to Benito, but picked off there by Vaydux. 45 seconds to go. Kunku gave it up to Mikes, but it'll force a reset as offsides warning there for Mythix. 6 seconds to go now. Sokelo with a shot on, saved by Unique. 2 seconds remaining, trying to pass it in front, but nothing there. And that will do it for the opening 20 minutes of Game 2. No score, but plenty of chances. Majority of them coming from Parasite. The best chance of the day, arguably, right there. Takedown, denying Vatu on that shot. Keep this at a scoreless draw. Get another look at the save right there. As again, Parasite with the majority of shots on net in that period. Mythix able to get a couple, but had the majority of chances. You can see 5 minutes of time on attack already, compared to 1 minute and 46 seconds for Mythix. What was that last shot there that Mythix got on Unique? And then arguably the best chance of the day so far, Vatu with that shot on Takedown, who was able to get a glove on it. Nice job there from Mythix defensively. I believe that was Kunku that picked up that potential rebound opportunity and got it out. We are set for period number 2. in game number 2 between these two teams. It really feels like game number 3, a triple overtime in game 1. Saw Parasite take a 2-1 victory. So far in game 2, these two teams as close as ever. Vatu forces the turnover in Mythix's own zone. A nice move and shot there from Benito, but it goes wide. Hello has it in the neutral zone. Finds Mythix. Circling around at the point. Gives it up in front. Oh, found by Unique there. Still have to be careful and holds on to it for a stoppage. So Mythix going to get an offensive zone face-off coming up here. To the right side of Unique. Tied up and won by Parasite. Picked up by Teemu with some speed. Has Vatu with him, but disrupted and found again by Vatu. Behind the net. Down by Tombo over at the boards. Circling around with it, looking for a play. Goes to Benito, who goes to Vatu. Back to Benito at the point. Now the Tombo opposite side. Tombo working it over to Vatu. Now to Teemu trying to pass it across. Puck loose on the blue paint. Takedown will find it and freeze it. The Parasite almost got themselves that opening goal there. That's his own face-off now coming up for them. Tied up and won by Mythix in their own zone. Sokelo with it. Trying to get past Teemu, but not able to do so after that hit. Teemu controlling it for Parasite. Past the blue line and dumps it in. Found by Akunku. Mythix taking over possession. 13 minutes to go here in the second period. Still scoreless. Both sides with exactly 4 shots on net. And really 1 or 2 truly dangerous chances from each team. Parasite looking to create another one here. Tombo has it at the high point and gives it to Benito. Shot in front, blocked. Another chance there. That one saved by Takedown. Ike's has it and gives it up to Sokelo over at the right boards. Trying to give it over to Templeton, but it was picked off by Tombo. Stretch pass, disrupted by Akunku. Able to get in front and intercept that one. It's Akunku trying to get past the blue line, but not able to. Vatu puts on a move. Has it. Poke checked off of his stick and recovered by Mythix. Halfway through this game, approaching the 9-minute mark of the second period, a pass across. Nice job from Teemu to get in front of that play. Parasite now have possession in the neutral zone. Ardo past the blue line, but an offside called. 8:14 to go here in the second. Neutral zone face-off coming up. As Benito wins it clean back to Tombo, who will go back and set the breakout. Slap shot in the offensive zone. Race to the puck won by Akunku for Mythix. Mythix on the rush. Sokelo with it, looking for space, trying to pass it across to Templeton, but no shot on. As now Parasite take over possession. Vatu at the left boards, puts on a move, creates some space, bumps from behind, but keeps it and kicks it to the side over to Benito behind the net. Excuse me, that was Ardo. Teemu has at the point, disrupted, poke checked away, but found by Akunku. 5 minutes now remaining. Mythix at the right boards, gives it up to Sokelo. Down low to Templeton, now up to the point to Akunku. Shot on, hits the post. Mythix still in possession. Sokelo tied up, kicks it to the right side to Mythix. A shot again, blocked in front. Parasite looking to get out of their own zone here, and they do. Vatu finds Teemu, takes a big hit there from Mythix. Allows Mythix to dump it in the offensive zone, but it's picked up by Tombo. Ardo working with Benito, gets it past the blue line. Ardo recovers it after it was poke checked away, puck loose and found by Akunku and gives it over to Templeton. Less than 90 seconds to go here in the second period. Turned over by Mythix in the offensive zone. 30 seconds now. Tombo slowing things down for Parasite. Scanning his options, doesn't have much, and it's lost. Here come Mythix, 4 seconds to go, pass in front, shot on, blockered away by Unique, and that will do it for the second frame Still a scoreless draw between these two sides. There's been chances here and there, but none that can stop these two goaltenders from denying them. And what has been a strategic chess match between these two teams. Let's get a look there at that blocker save there from Unique to end the period. Mythix with one more shot than Parasite in that period, but Parasite again with most of the time on attack. Let's get a look at a couple of chances there from Mythix. That was that shot that hit the post, actually rolled off of the pad of Unique before it did hit the piping. Here's the chances from Parasite. Lone shot on net that they had in that period. 3 shots to 1 in that second period in favor of Mythix. We are set to get underway for the third and final period of regulation. A massive result here for both sides. It's a chance for Mythix right off the opening face-off, but Unique able to stop it. Parasite now in the offensive zone. This has got to be quite the difference in series for them. They went from shelling with the cool-time game 1 to being a scoreless draw in game 2. A glove save on the breakaway there from Unique. Will freeze it. Oh boy, that was close there. An offensive zone draw coming up here for Mythix. As we were talking about the difference in series here for Parasite, remember, we covered this team in their series against Mustakulta on Monday as a shot goes wide for Parasite. They have it in the offensive zone now. They don't want me to sing their praises, apparently. They have it in the offensive zone, and they're working here. Nito moves up to the point to Teemu, who goes over to Tombo. Skates forward, pass in front, puck loose, and picked up by Mythix. I'm going to go ahead and try to get this stat out now while I can. Remember, the last time we saw Parasite, we saw them score 12 goals in their game versus Mustakulta, or in their series rather versus Mustakulta. So far in this series, they've been held to 2, and that includes a triple overtime. So a much more defensive series that has been starred by goaltending as well. It's Parasite controlled in the offensive zone. Shot on, saved by Takedown. Parasite still pushing, however, as Vatu has it the right board. Skates for a shot on again. Another save there by Takedown for Mythix. Mythix take over possession. Trying to find something here on the breakout. Kunku possessing it. Slap shot in the offensive zone. Race to the puck won by Sokela. Checked away by Tombo, but he gets it back. Sokela working pass in front was intercepted by Unique, who will now play this out. And Parasite on the rush. Turned over there on the pass attempt from Benito. Vayduk's controlling it from Mythix in the offensive zone. Shot was disrupted by Tombo. Another chance in front. Another interception, however, by Parasite. Reaching the halfway point of the third period. Still scoreless. Parasite looking to break that here. Did the first goal of the game end up being the winner as well? Benito at the corner, but bumped from behind there hard by Vayduk's. Jorgen is Mike's pass in front. The shot was blocked. Mike's gets it again here at the corner. Pass to the point to Vayduk's, looking for some space, working with it, and gives it to Tempinen at the high face-off circle. Back to Mike's. Mike's disrupted there by Benito, who will force that turnover. Here comes Parasite down the other end. A delayed penalty going to be called. A shot saved by Takedown. And Parasite, their second power play opportunity of the game coming up. 8th in the division in power play coming into the day at 24.24%. The PK of Mythix, second in the division, only behind Parasite, 85.29%. Parasite working in the offensive end. Shot on from Vatu, saved by Takedown. Mythix can't get it out of their own end, and Parasite still pushing. Tombo's shot, another chance there on the rebound, not picked up by Parasite, as Mythix get it out of their own zone for now. And Parasite immediately back on the attack. Teemu skates forward, stops, looks, gives it to Benito. Poke checked off of the stick, scrummed for, but found by Teemu at the boards. Teemu with it and goes behind the net. Aro to Vatu to Tombo. One-timer from Teemu, blocked in front. And Mythix going to be able to dump this and kill off the remainder of the penalty as Templeton now in the box. And we're back to even strength. Less than 5 minutes to go. We are still tied with no goals. There's a try there on the Omaha play to Sokolo, but disrupted by Parasite. Vatu with possession, poke checked off of his stick. Teemu at the point. Over to Benito. Benito at the corner. Back to Tombo at the point again. Shot tipped in front, saved by Takedown. So Kello gets it over to Templeton, now to Akunku with speed. Stopped in his tracks by Teemu, and now Parasite with a 3-on-3. Checked away in the neutral zone. Less than 2 minutes to go. Remember, a massive difference between overtime and regulation. An overtime victory gives Parasite a regulation victory gives Parasite an 83.7% chance to win this series. A regulation victory from Mythix gives them a 99.3% chance at the 2 seed. Less than a minute to go. Mythix in the offensive zone. Pass in front, picked off there by Benito. Here comes Tombo up the left boards, controlling it. Pass in front. It was picked off there, intercepted by Templeton. Bumped off by Benito, and now force a reset. 30 seconds to go. Mythix on the breakout. Controlled there by Sokelo. Nice job from Benito getting it off his stick, but Mikes picks it up and a penalty called against Parasite. Benito will head to the box. This is eerily similar to what happened in game 1. Parasite was up 1-0. Mythix scored on the power play with less than 2 minutes to go, and they'll have one here, but a little less time, and it's a tie situation this time. 11 seconds. Mythix working it up the offensive zone. Sokelo with it, bumped off the puck, and finds Templeton. Back to Akunku. Pass in front. Shot on was blocked in front by Parasite. And that will do it for regulation. Another game, another overtime. As Mythix thought they had the winner, but it was blocked by Parasite defensively in front. And we mentioned how big the results would be in the difference between overtime and regulation in terms of the 2 seed. If Mythix had only gotten 1 point out of this series, their chances of the 2 seed would have gone to 20.6%. They have officially clinched 2 points. They now have a 72.35% chance of clinching the 2 seed. They came in at over 74%. So this series will pretty much keep things close to the same for Mythix and Parasite in terms of the 2 seed odds. And they can still potentially win it in overtime. An overtime victory will increase their odds to 93.88%. So a big overtime coming up that can sway things by nearly a fifth. I want to shout out our sponsors one more time. COVID on Not Gonna See, Game Changer, and WellNet. Thank you to you guys for supporting us. We there guys are watching at home, there guys and gals, and enjoying the broadcast because these 2 teams have put on a show for us. It's dumped in and picked up by Vatu. He has some space, is pressured by 4 Mythix players there. That was 1 against 4, no chance to get out of that one. As Mythix now have possession in the offensive zone. Baydukes, back to Akunku. Skates forward, pass in front, disrupted there. Nice job by Parasite to break that play up, and they'll dump it once again. Akunku controlling it. Pass across to Sokelo. Sokelo shot. Oh. Time. Sokelo, the leader in points and goals for his team, ends it in quick order in overtime. As you get another look at the replay, lots of space. Off the pipe. And puts it in past Unique, who had been spectacular in this game. And Mythix able to come out of this one with 3 points. as a 1-0 victory in overtime. Also, can't let it be lost that that is the 4th shutout of the season for Takedown. Impressive against a Parasite team that is so good offensively. Had a 5-0 shutout against Goons earlier this season. Had a 8-0 shutout against Nova on Monday. And a 6-0 shutout against Heimo back on April 17th. But today, a more consequential shutout for his team is, wow, what a shot. That was a great angle there on that replay. So Kello just picking that top right corner to perfection. Gotta give credit to Parasite. Did a great job defensively. Unique with a stellar performance, but unfortunately for Parasite, their chances at the 2 seed drastically decrease. That gives a 93.88% chance for Mythix to earn that number 2 seed due to getting 3 points out of the series. Parasite now down to a 5.95% chance. They split the series right down the middle as we will go back into the booth. Brandon B. Major Bixby with you here on the call as Parasite and Mythix gave us, I mean, I'll just say it. I think that is the best series that we have seen so far on broadcast so far this season. A pair of games, both going to overtime. The first game, a triple overtime thriller. Parasite winning it 2-1. A goal from Vatu winning it. The gold helmet wearer for Parasite was, we just saw Mythix respond with an overtime victory of their own. A 1-0 win. Their gold helmet wearer in Sokello winning it for Mythix. So both teams get an overtime victory. Both teams leave out of here with 3 points, with Mythix going to be the big winners. Now over 95% chance of clinching, or excuse me, 93% chance of clinching that number 2 seed with 2 games remaining for both of these two sides. As we now turn the page, that series done and dusted. And folks, if your heart rate was high, you might want to take this next commercial break to relax and calm down a little bit, because this next series, even bigger implications. We've got Tohtorit versus Heimo, number 7 and number 8 coming into today. The final 2 playoff spots that these 2 teams hold are on the line. A massive series that could completely change the trajectory of the playoff picture. You're not going to want to miss it. Make sure you stay with us. Hey, send the link to a friend or two. If they want a little bit of fun hockey or free entertainment to watch, make sure you bring them here. We've got a fun series coming up. Before we do that, we're going to hear a word from our sponsors, take a break for a few minutes, and get things set up for our next series between Heimo and Tohtorit. So do not go anywhere, my friends. We've got more fun action coming up after the break.
Welcome to the SportsGamer Health and Performance Program. Nice to have you here. Here you have a large amount of different workouts from Wellnet, but also material just exclusive for you gamers. In your sessions, we focus mostly on neck and shoulder mobility, back health, and concentration. So give it a try and let us know what you think about it.
minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
All right, we are back. Thank you for sticking with us as we get set for our next series between Heimo and Tohtorit. Obviously, you have a pair of overtime games, one going to triple overtime. You get a little bit behind on schedule, so we're going to try to give you everything in a condensed and quick fashion. Start out with giving you a quick look at the stand to show you where these two teams stand, as well as show you what has changed, because there's a lot of results happening throughout the division right now. The biggest change, as you can see, SSK Esports have played 2 games during our coverage here today. That has bumped Heimo out of that number 8 spot. SSK Esports defeated Vapor 4-3 in overtime and 5-2 in regulation. So that was 5 points that SSK has gained. They kick Heimo out. They're a point above them, and they both have 24 games played. So now all of a sudden, things change a little bit here for Heimo. Tohtorit, 2 more games, and we're about to see those 2 games here in just a moment. 41 points, so a lot here that can change. Really, what we're watching, 6 all the way down to 10. That is where the playoff picture really stands. Nova still with an outside chance due to the amount of games that they have to play, but they're going to have to really get on a winning run to put themselves squarely in that position. Also, you just want to point out that 16 spot, we just had it confirmed. Vapor is officially automatically relegated. They cannot gain any more points due to those 2 losses to SSK. So Onsei Esports officially safe from being automatically relegated. Nova is safe based on tiebreaker. So Vapor automatically relegated from the Elite Division. That just came in. Just wanted to make sure to give that a quick shout, as that did just change. But again, our focus, number 7, number 9, Tohtorit and Heimo. Those are the teams facing off. Let's give you a quick look at how things stand with the odds really quick, just so you know what could potentially change. Heimo, their odds if they get 6 points, 93.92%. It goes down to 86% with 5 points and 71% with 4 points. Now, if they split or worse, that's where things get a little bit scary. 46.9% if they get 3 points. So that's around half and half. Maybe have an opportunity, but 2 points takes them down to 21.3%. 1 point takes them down to 12.56%. And if they come out with no points, that's down to 6%. And by the way, this does not include the odds of what SSK just did as well. So this could potentially be skewed. These were the odds as of this morning. So it could be a little bit different now with SSK doing what they did. But we'll take a look at Tohtorit as well to give you their odds. They're in a more dire situation coming in compared to Tohtorit. They need 6 points for a 73% chance, 5 for 67, 4 points for a 60% chance, and then around half and half again if they can split. But that's where things, again, that 3-point margin, once you get below that, that's where things become very, very scary. 2 points, they only have a 26.7. 1 point, less than a 10% chance. 0 points effectively takes them out of the race entirely. So these 2 teams need every single point they can get. If either end up getting swept, they're virtually out of the running, barring a miracle. If they end up splitting, they both have a rather equal chance of just under 50%. So that's what we're looking at. That's the importance of points for both of these 2 teams in this series. But let's transition over to the team matchup, show you how these 2 teams have done heading into the day. And it's not a surprise that they're pretty much even across the board, right? 2 teams that are right next to each other in the standings, fighting for one of the last available playoff spots. And here they are right next to each other statistically in basically every single category. Offensively, defensively, pretty much anything you can think of, they are right by each other. So it's going to be a pretty even matchup to where there's not a lot separating these 2. It's going to be about limiting mistakes and taking advantage of opportunities. Which side can do that could be the one that's going to be able to take a couple of more points out of this series. Let's meet the starting lineups now. Both of these 2 teams, starting out with Heimo. Over on the left side of your screen. It will be Sniperty, Moja, and Emo at the top over at the 3-4 trio, while back on defense, it'll be Sadapoika and King of Apes. While in between the pipes will be Vamu, who, shout out to him, he's been doing a great job of updating the series and the Twitch chat for us. Obviously, his focus is going to be turned to something a little bit more important now. But starting on up on the other side for Tohtorit, 3-4, it's Oyula at left wing, Harlow at center, and Profilipaki at right wing, while the defensive pairing is Carcass on the left side and Sega Stormy on the right, and Stammer starting at goal for Tohtorit. Let's take it position by position really quick and show you the matchups starting out with the centers. It'll be Moja going up against Harlow, two guys that have been around for a minute, two experienced centers that are really good play drivers. Both of these guys are capable of coming up with a big play. Obviously, Moja, a multi-time champion in this division with tunnel vision. You know, he's going to be a big relying piece of this Heimo team looking to push their way back into the playoffs for the first time in about 3 seasons. Harlow, on the other end, has been one of the mainstays of this Tohtorit team, all the way back to their days as Pro Division champions in ECL 23. He's going to be someone to rely on heavily, too. So these two centers, you're going to want to make sure to keep an eye on throughout this series as the people that will be with them to make out that forward trio to the left and their right, the wingers. As it's Snipery and Emil for Heimo, as you can see, both of them with an even 39 points, while Oyula and Profilipaki for Tohtorit, a little bit more offensive production, 49 and 45 points respectively, but nevertheless, again, these teams have been very even offensively. You can't be a good offensive team without good wingers. Both of these duos very capable and gonna have to step up here today. It's interesting too. Snipery just 35 shots in 24 games played, so gonna be interesting to kind of see if he ends up being more of a playmaker, or if you maybe have him step up and be that unsuspecting guy that gives you a few goals in a massive series that could potentially shift your playoff chances. So just something to keep an eye on over on that left wing side for Heimo. We will be watching from the perspective of Heimo, so you'll be able to see him on the left side of your screen. The defensive pairings now for Heimo and Tohtorit, again, very even across the board. Really, the one thing that will stand out to you is the points for King of Apes, 41 in 24 games played. I mean, no surprise at all. Someone that has been one of the best in the ECL for really as long as you can remember. You can go all the way back to some of the original ECL days. ECL 2 and 3 is a former champion even before his days with H-Reds when they won 3 straight, a 4-time ECL Elite Division title. He's someone that you know is going to have a lot to say in this series. Someone that's very outspoken, someone that is probably one of the favorites for comeback player of the season. Look out for him over at that right D side, while Carcass and Sega Stormy both sure to be active as well, especially Carcass, who really always has his stick on the puck, one of the leaders season after season in time with the puck. He'll be active for this Tohtorit team on the offensive side, so it'll be interesting to see those two go head-to-head, as they'll even be on the same side of the ice. King of Apes and Carcass will be. But now, the starting goaltenders, as both goalies, again, very experienced, very solid. You see Vamo over on the left side for Heimo, 78.4 save percentage. She has started 24 games for this team, while Stammer, the defending goaltender of the season, an 80.8 save percentage. Those stats have climbed up a good bit from where they were earlier on the season. He was hanging around a mid-70 save percentage just a few weeks ago. It's gotten it back up to where you would expect to see it at 80.8 save percentage, as Tohtorit has really seen to hit their stride over the last 6 to 8 games. These two men on your screen are going to be big, and they're going to have a lot to live up to, as we saw what Unique and Takedown were able to do in a big series in between the pipes for their teams. These two going to have to do the same thing here today, as we are just a few moments away from getting this series kicked off, as both teams are getting things ready to go. As again, massive implications. Heimo coming in 9th, Tohtorit coming in 7th. A lot of points to go and potentially be given around, as the loser of the series is going to really have a hard time finding their way into that top 8 in the next couple of days, as today, once again, the final day of our regular season coverage. Teams will be playing a few games tomorrow as an extra day, but today, pretty much decision day for the most part. We've already seen a couple of things finalized from the standings. Last Dance have virtually clinched the number 1 seed. They came in with over a 99% chance. They were able to earn all 6 points, I believe, in their series with Blackbirds. It looks like they maybe had another game in that series come in, but doesn't look like the result is showing there. Vapor automatically relegated. That is confirmed. They cannot pass anybody. They have reached all 30 games. They're at 24 points. Nova owns the tiebreaker for them. So they are officially automatically relegated. Nova out of the Elite Division. Kind of a surprise to see that. That's a team that last season was under Tiki Talk brand. Actually ended up in no man's land, but unfortunately had some roster changes throughout the offseason. Did not get things going as quickly as they needed to, and will now have to try to earn their way back into the Elite Division either through a qualifier or through the Pro Division next season. As you get a look at both teams ready to go in the lobby, you get a quick look at some of the builds there as well. I know there's some people in the chat that like to kind of ask and see what some of these top players are running, and what you're looking at, a lot of those typical meta builds, playmaker and puck-moving defensemen, pretty much across the board. No unique builds that we're really seeing from either side, while the hybrid builds for most of the goaltenders. As once again, Heimo versus Tohtorit, massive playoff implications coming into the series. There will be a few teams watching this one closely, as we're set to get underway. The first of 2 games between these 2 teams, our third of 4 games of our broadcast coverage here today. As once again, we will be watching from the perspective of Heimo. They are wearing their road whites, while Tohtorit in their home all-black uniforms. We are set to get underway for this series. Moja and Harlow with the opening draw, and it's one back by Harlow for Tohtorit, but not held on to for long as Heimo will take over possession. King of Apes gets it up to Emil. Emil at the corner and gives it back to King of Apes at the point. King of Apes looking, has some space. Pressured a little bit by Oyola now as he's trying to find a pass and goes back to Moja. Moja works over to Sniperty as the puck loose behind the net and found first by Tohtorit. There's Carcass. He mentioned the time with possession status. Something that he typically leads the division in more times than not. Had over 1,000 minutes with the puck last season. He's up there yet again as a shot on blocked in front. That was Sega Stormy that ripped that one on net. But here comes Heimo down the other end. Snipery with possession. Gives it up to King of Apes as a shot on right into the chest of Stammer, who will hold on and freeze it. First shot of the day for either side. So draw one by Heimo, and the rip from King of Apes was saved by Stammer. So 2 quick shots, both from King of Apes at that right point. Tohtorit being tested here early. Another offensive zone draw here upcoming for Heimo, this time to the left side. Puck battled for, found, however, by Tohtorit. Turned over, however, as they couldn't cross the blue line cleanly. King of Apes controlling it. Trying to give it up to Moja, but finds Emil instead. Moja behind the net now with it. Looking for space, pressured from behind by Sega Stormy, and lost that puck, but got it back. Pass inside. We talked about him being a playmaker, but he putting a Sniperty right there, his 14th goal of the season. And Heimo strike first in this series. As you get a look at the replay, that quick pass there from Moja. Winning that battle over at the corner. Getting it in front, Sniperty right where he needed to be. Puts it in the back of the net, and so 1-0 lead here for Heimo. And as we mentioned, they're the first team out of the picture coming into today. Neutral zone face-off won by Tohtorit as Oyola tried to pass it across, but nobody there. A 1-0 lead for Heimo. 3 shots on that as well. Tohtorit still looking for their first. As we do have an update elsewhere, we'll get to that when we can, but Tohtorit, possession behind the net. Trying to work this thing up as Carcass. Brian's profile of hockey. Posted in. And Tohtorit tie things up. As you get another look at it there, how about the move there from Pro Filipaki? He's able to squeeze that one in right behind Vamu on that play. And Tohtorit with their first shot of the day tied things up at 1 apiece. We said we had an update elsewhere. The Blackjacks have just surpassed Blackbirds in the standings. The reason that's important is because of potential relegation series implications. Blackbirds were holding on to that 12th spot. The Blackjacks have just surpassed them after they were able to earn a 5-0 victory over Exon. So that score just came in. The Blackjacks now in the number 12 spot. We're still waiting to see what the result is from Blackbirds in Last Dance. That's the last game of the season for Blackbirds. So if they lose that game, that will confirm TBJ to be safe, as well as V-Nexus, Goons, and whoever the 9th team is that doesn't get into the playoffs. So we'll see what happens there, but wanted to give you that quick update. As we mentioned, we were going to try to keep things fresh and give you guys all the updates of things happening around the division, with this being the final broadcast of the regular season. We've got important playoff implications happening here, as Heimo have it after seeing that puck go all the way down their own end, but turn it over almost immediately. This is controlled by Tohtorit in the offensive zone, but immediately turned over, but Oyala gets it back. Oyala shot off! It squeaks in! It's Babu! And Tohtorit with their first goal their first lead of the game, second goal there. As let's get another look at it, as you see Oyala put that shot on, kind of just squeaked right through the pads of Vamu. It's off of that bottom left post and in. And Tohtorit, after giving up that opening goal, find 2 back-to-back. And they're up ahead in this one. And how about this? We have already reached the same amount of goals as what we had in a triple overtime in Game 1, and we've already reached more goals than what we had in an overtime game in Game 2. So, a much different looking series, potentially, than what we saw between Mythix and Parasite. 2 different flavors of entertainment. I'm here for it. Tohtorit still pushing here, but lose possession, and King of Apes will now take it up here for Heimo. Mojo with a nice move, gets in the offensive zone and gives it back to King of Apes. King of Apes at the boards, stops, looks, trying to find an option to pass or shoot, still looking and finds Sadapueka at the point. Up to Sniperly, back to Sadapueka. Pueka with a lot of time, a lot of room. Gives it to King of Apes, who finds Moja, trying to pass it across, but that's picked off there by Pro Filipaki. 2.5 minutes to play here in period 1. Tohtorit with a 2-1 lead, 2 shots on net, both of them goals. And Heimo has been slowed up a little bit after that hot start. Unable to break into the offensive zone there, and Tohtorit takes over possession. 1 minute to play. Lilo with it for Tohtorit in the offensive zone. Poke checked off the stick, and a delayed penalty going to be called against Tohtorit. So a power play coming up here for Heimo. Less than 10 seconds to go. Sniperty to Moja. Moja looking, trying to find something. 2 seconds now. Pass in front was tipped in front by a Tohtorit defender. As Oyala will head to the box for tripping. Got him right there on that poke check. Tripped up Moja in front of the net. And the captain and leading point getter for this Tohtorit team will have to watch on the side for 2 minutes. 1.7 seconds to go here in this period. More than likely just time for one quick shot from the point for Heimo if they win it clean, and they won't. Nice face-off win there by Harlow, and that will do it for period 1. Tohtorit, a 2-1 advantage. Back-to-back goals after Heimo was able to score the opening goal. Get another look at the goal that broke the tie. Oyala able to just kind of put that one past Vamu. Not your typical goal in the ECL, but it works all the same. See the stats there really quick. 3 shots to 2 in favor of Heimo. All of those shots came within about the first 5 or 6 minutes. see the goals again here from Tohtorit. That first one, both of them just squeaking through the 5-hole of Vamu. That second one just wasn't able to get down the butterfly in time, and there was the opening goal there that Heimo scored as Sniperty put it in on that pass from Moja. We get set for period number 2. And shout out our sponsors again, COVID on Occupancy, Game Changer, and WellNet for their support. It's Heimo with 1:50 to go on the power play. They have it in the offensive zone. King of Apes controlling it with Sadapoika at the point. Apes looking, has room, Gates forward, trying to pass it back, but there was nobody there for that one. That's going to force a reset for Heimo. Apes gets it back from Sadapoika. Feeds him over on the left side. Sadapoika back to King of Apes at the point. Looking, waiting, trying to find room, but Tohtorit once again taking away the space. A great job defensively on this penalty kill by Tohtorit. King of Apes skates it past the blue line. He's been active in this game, but poke checked away there 5 seconds ago on the power play, and Oyula will make his way out of the box for Tohtorit. A picture-perfect penalty kill. Heimo have it in the offensive zone still, however. King of Apes at the right point, trying to find Emil, but couldn't get his stick on that puck, and it'll be turned over. Here comes Tohtorit down the other end. Oyula with it. Nice job there, however, from King of Apes and Emil to disrupt that play. We have possession once again. Sega Sormi slow things down. Gets it to Carcass and gets it back. Slap shot in the offensive zone. Race to the puck. Won by Tohtorit. Carcass skating forward, but denied there by the defensive Heimo. King of Apes gets it yet again with it, jetting his way up the ice, but takes a big hit there from Pro Filipaki, who has some space, a potential 2-on-1 pass. With his second goal of the game. And Tohtorit double their lead to 2. It all just happens so fast for this team, doesn't it? They come on the counterattack, on the rush. They get that pass across. 2-on-2 turns into a 2-on-1. Oyula able to move in front as he passed that over and was able to maintain possession despite that bump, and Tohtorit with a 3-1 advantage here. 3 goals unanswered, and how about this? All 3 of their goals equal all 3 of their shots. Efficiency at its finest. Heimo now on their heels and in desperate need of a response. They're not going to get it on that possession. Another great defensive stance by Tohtorit. They have possession now as Sega Stormy moves it up past the blue line. Gives it up to Pro Filipaki. Finds Oyula. Shot on. Save made there by Vamu. That's his first save today. Hold on and freeze it. Offensive zone draw coming up here for Tohtorit. Get a look there at the massive hit that Sega Stormy had to take. As this face-off beats to the right side of Vamu. One back in the defensive zone by Moja, and here comes Heimo down the other end. King of Apes in the neutral zone. Feeds it over to Emil on the bank pass. Turned over, however, and found by Sega Stormy behind Tohtorit's net. Oyula puts on a move, finds Pro Filipaki. Still controlling that puck, but takes a big hit behind the net and is turned over. Emil moves up the sniper up the left boards, but an offside's called. With 9:25 to play here in period number 2. Past the halfway point, Tohtorit with a 3-1 advantage over Heimo. Face-off tie-up won by Heimo. They're now in the offensive zone. Emil to King of Apes at the point, now to Sadapoika. Working it between the 2 defensemen. King of Apes now pushes forward. Pass it across. Emil puts it in the back of the net, right on that right post. And Heimo with exactly what the doctor ordered. They cut the lead in half. It's a 3-2 game now. As we get another look at the replay, we talked about King of Apes. He was going to be active in this one. His experience, his skill level, His ability to drive plays from that right side of the ice, that's a defenseman. That was where the play started. He moved it forward, found Emil right at that right post, dished it over to him, and he was able to beat Stammer. It is now a 1-goal game, a game that the goaltenders will likely not have on their highlight reels, as Vamo has a 25 save percentage so far, 1 save on 4 shots. Stammer a 50 save percentage, 2 saves on 4 shots. So the offenses have been efficient to say the least. Heimo looking for another goal as that pass to the slot led to a shot that was a little bit off, hit the side of the netting. Tohtorit with possession. Sega Sormi going to retreat and reset. Gives it up. Finds Profilipaki. Turned over, however, and now Heimo rushed down the other end. Sniper had it, but a poke check there. Turned over, and Profilipaki might be a right winger, but he has stepped up and made some really good defensive plays so far today for Tohtorit. Sega Sormi controls it and set the breakout up for Tohtorit. Approaching the 3-minute mark here in period 2. Heimo now have possession. Emil at the right boards. Hit there by Oyola. With the puck recovered by King of Apes. King of Apes looking. Dishes it over to Mozja. Mozja at the point. Now to Satapoika. Satapoika turning, looking, gives it up to King of Apes at the right point. Lots of pressure from Tohtorit. King of Apes looking, gives it to Mozja. Shot on, saved by Stammer. 30 seconds now. Oyola looking to push it forward for Tohtorit, but turned over. Here comes Heimo down the other end. Mozja gives it up to Sniperdy. Now to Satapoika at the point. Skates forward. Stammer denies them on the one-timer. We'll get a face-off with 0.7 of a second remaining. More than likely not enough time for a Heimo shot. With the face-off, so they'll pad the stats a little bit for Mozja, but that'll do it. 2 periods down, 1 more to go of regulation. Tohtorit holding on to a 3-2 lead. They were up 3-1, but Heimo able to split that lead in half. Goal from Emil, making it a 3-2 score. As you get another look at that one-time shot that Stammer was able to stop. That was Emil yet again that ripped that one on net. But the winter season goaltender of the year, too sharp on that one. As we get another look at the goals from that period, that one from Oyola early on in that second period, and then just a few moments ago, we saw the Emil goal that made it a 1-goal game once again, and you thought Heimo may have tied it on that one, but Stammer right there to deny him. As we get set for period number 3, the final period of regulation. Tohtorit, a 3-2 lead over Heimo. Can they hold on to it here? As Tohtorit, they have gone on a bit of a miracle run the last few days. After Sunday, they had just around a 5% chance to make the playoffs. That is how slim their hopes were coming into the week. They got on a bit of a skid and took some tough losses, but their performance against Parasite, collecting 5 out of 6 points a couple of days ago in that series, kept their hopes alive. Now they really have a chance to put themselves in position to strengthen that if they can hold on to this lead. But Heimo is pushing in the offensive zone. The Apes controlling it, finds Emo shot in front, saved by Stammer. He holds on to freeze it. As Heimo came into today with a 72.84% chance to make the playoffs, Tohtorit came in at just over 37%. Get another look at that chance in front there from Heimo. And another opportunity, that one was blockered away by Stammer. Saw that timeout that was taken by Tohtorit, looking to kill off that full pressure. As Heimo's doubled Tohtorit in shots so far, 8-4. He'll find themselves down by a goal. Stormy trying to work it past the defense and finds Oyola down low. Harlow now with it, pressure from behind, but finds Profilopaki. Puck loose in front, battled for and found by Oyola. Oyola up to the point to Karkas. Karkas shot tipped in front, saved, however, by Vamo. King of Apes trying to move it forward, but turned over. Vamo gets it back, however. Sniper D. Can get the King of Apes to work it. Finds Emo. Emo back to King of Apes at the point. King of Apes looking. Gives it up to Moser. Shot from Emo over the right side. Gloved away by Stammer, and he'll freeze it. Just over 12 minutes to go here in regulation. Heimo has really ramped up the pressure in this third period. A few different shots on net. As they win the offensive zone face-off. As a shot there. Handled well by Stammer once again. Heimo have now doubled Tohtorit in shots, 10-5. Another offensive zone draw for Heimo, but one in the defensive zone by Tohtorit. Oyola with it, works past the blue line, but lost and picked up by Profilopaki. Profilopaki at the corner, works it back down to Oyola. Oyola, the point shot on was blocked. Sega Stormy that ripped that one. Puck found, however, by Tohtorit. Harlow controlling it, being pressured. Oh, that one almost snuck past Vamo at that left post, but he gets it and plays it out. Here comes Moser with speed up the right boards. Gives it to Eels. Emil, his second goal of the game. And just like that, we're all evened up at 3. Heimo giving Tohtorit a little taste of their own medicine, a quick goal on a counterattack. As Emil, with his 20th goal on the season, that leads this Heimo team, gives Heimo one of the most important goals of their season, ties this game at 3, 8:59 to play. And after being down 3-1, Heimo have found back-to-back goals of their own. They might not be done here. King of Apes gets it on the one-timer to Koika, but Stammer makes the save. The Stormy moving it up to Oyola. Oyola controlling it. Gives up to the point back to Sega Stormy. Now the Karkas. One-timer over to Profilopaki was saved by Vamo. Oyola again with it. Shot on. Hits the side of the skate of Vamo. Here comes Heimo down the other end. Approaching the 6-minute mark now. Battled for, won by Karkas, trying to maintain possession, and he does so by giving it to Harlow. Harlow slows it down and gives it to Karkas. Tohtorit slowing it down and starting to break out. 5 minutes now remaining. A shot on, saved by Vamo. Puck loose in front, found by Moser. That was dangerous there for Vamo, who was in a very precarious position there at that animation. Filipaki gives it up to Sega Stormy, who will slow it down again and reset. Gives it to Karkas. 3 minutes to go now. Karkas turning, creating space, trying to give it to Oyola, but that was intercepted by Moser. King of Apes now controlling it for Heimo. Hope checked away as he crossed the blue line. Now will force Heimo to reset. 90 seconds to go in regulation. Remember, every point between these two matters. Tohtorit holding on to one of the final playoff spots at the number 7 position. Heimo, the first team out at number 9 coming into this series. As Tohtorit dumps it in. Oyola gets it. Pass in front was disrupted, however, by Moser. 43 seconds to go. Snipery dishes it over to Emo at the right boards. Back to Snipery. Snipery pass in front. Intercepted, however, by Profilopaki. Here comes Tohtorit down the other end. 30 seconds to go. They're going to go back and reset. Didn't like what they saw in front of them. Karkas feeds Harlow, who dumps it in behind the net, and the race to the puck won by King of Apes. 18 seconds now. King of Apes to Sadapoika. Over to Emil at the right side. Emil dumps it around, and it's found by Moja at the corner, who gives it to Sadapoika at the point, but he could not get his stick on that puck. 7 seconds to go. Heimo, one last chance to bring it up the ice. King of Apes with speed, hit off of that puck, and folks, for the third time today, we are heading to extra hockey. Overtime once again. We saw triple overtime in game 1, an overtime in game 2, and we're going to at least see another overtime here in game number 3. So both teams secure a point. That is still important. These two teams aren't just going up against each other for those playoff spots. You still have Polsky Boys who could fall. You have SSK Esports who could fall as well. So both of these teams securing at least a point, that is big. But again, you still have that issue of they're facing off against each other at the same time, as we also just got a massive result, major result that just came in. Polsky Boys have played the remainder of their schedule, 42 points, and they have reached the 30-game schedule, so they are done. They fall to Musta Kulta in regulation in both games, 3-2 and 5-1, so Polsky Boys collect 0 points to end the season. Oh, that will be a heartbreaker for them if they end up falling, especially after this great end of the season they had. Remember, last season in the winter season, they were holding on to the final available playoff spot, and they ended up being bounced at the last possible moment on the final day. They ended up falling to 9th. This is a team that is in their 4th season, have yet to make the playoffs in Elite, so a massive turn of events. Polsky Boys go pointless in their series versus Musta Kulta. That is huge for both Tohtorit and Heimo. But who's going to win that extra point here in overtime? We are underway, as Heimo have possession to start out, and King of Apes moves it up the ice. Moves it up to Sniperty. Finds Sadapoika. Sadapoika rushing it up. Loose behind the net, but picked up by Sega Stormy, but turned over. Heimo gets it. This is Emil controlling it and giving it to Moja. Moja working with King of Apes at the right boards. Stops at the corner and gives it back to him at the point. King of Apes operating shot rather was blocked in front. Tohtorit will now take over possession. Carcass giving it over to Sega Stormy. Gets it back and dumps it in the offensive zone. Puck given chase and found by Pro Filipaki. Trying to work it behind the net, but intercepted by Sadapoika. Boy, how that changes things as Polsky Boys control their own destiny to potentially clinch a playoff spot. But points as the wraparound attempt hits the post. And Stammer will have to hold on and freeze it after a scary opportunity there. Offensive zone faceoff coming up for Heimo to the right side of Stammer. Sega Stormy slaps up to Oila. Turned over and poke checked away. Heimo now with possession as King of Apes works it up the ice. Has it at the high left face-off circle. King of Apes, he has had his stick on the puck for, it feels like, about half of this game. Tohtorit now in possession. Harlow with it. Oila finds it after it's lost. At the high slot, gives up to Harlow. Shot was blocked away by Vamu. Tohtorit still pushing. Puck loose in front. Found by Heimo, and now forced a reset for Tohtorit as they get it past the blue line. Oila at the right boards, pressured and gives it up to the point. Shot on, blockered away again there by Vamu. Tohtorit still on the attack. Oila, slap shot in front was blocked. Another chance there, saved that time by Vamu, kicks it aside. Puck loose at the corner. Battled for, kicked aside, and found by Tohtorit behind their own net. Full pressure here. Working it at the point. Carcass skates forward, pass in front. Picked off there by Sadapoika, but Tohtorit still have possession. Oila holds a shot on. Saved again by Vamu. Heimo have got to get it out of their own zone, and they finally do. They'll dump this away. That'll kill off the full pressure, and they'll back off to regain some energy here. Halfway through this overtime period, we'll go until we get a winner. As a shot in front found by Vamu, who will freeze it once again. So Tohtorit will get an offensive zone draw coming up here. Both teams with 13 shots. Both teams with 3 goals. It's been as even as they come. But who will be able to break the tie and get that extra point? Carcass controlling it for Tohtorit. Pass in front. Puck loose as it's found by Moja for Heimo. Heimo now trying to get into the offensive zone, but the pass turned over and intercepted by Tohtorit. Filipaki had it for a moment, puck loose in the corner, race to it, won by Sadapueka, who's tied up behind the net, kicks it over to Emil, who takes a big hit, and it's turned over. Filipaki had it for a second, but lost as Moser got it off of his stick. Heimo now in the offensive zone as King of Apes had it, but lost as he was bumped off the puck. Gets to the board, stops, looks, loose, but keeps it and gives it up to Oila at the point. Back to Carcass. Carcass holding on, gives it to Harlow at the high slot. Up to Oila, shot from the point goes wide. Heimo take over possession there. A little bit of a scary missed pass, but to no danger. Less than 3 minutes to go in overtime. Snipery, up to Sadapueka at the point. Back to Game Vapes as the shot was blocked by Oila. Behind the net, found by Segasormi. Here comes Tohtorit down the other end. Less than 2 minutes to go now. That pass to Oila was off, and that will lead to an icing here. Well, Heimo will get an offensive zone face-off coming up now. Face-off to the left side of Stammer. Tied up, won by Heimo. King of Apes at the point, skating forward, looking for a play, and gives it up at the point. The shot was blocked. Sadapueka. Mosja gives it back to Sadapueka at the point. In front to Sniperty. Got the opening goal. Another shot. The puck skied in the air and moved its way just past the red line. And Heimo winning in overtime in the dying seconds as King of Apes shot it from the point on the one-timer, and you see how long it took. Let's see if we can get a better angle of it here. It was not tipped. It was saved originally by Stammer. You see that puck, it's right over his head. It's skying up there. It is going to be a while in this slow motion replay, but watch it right here. Bounces off the ice and in its way past the red line. And that just matter of inches gives Heimo an overtime victory and the extra point. And that is a big, big, big result. Heimo, who came in on the outside looking in, get 2 points. That pushes them to 38. Tohtorit, by the way, securing a point, which means that they are tied with Polsky Boys, and they currently own the tiebreaker. So Tohtorit move up to 6. Polsky Boys down to 7. Heimo past SSK and are now up to 8. Massive shift in the playoff picture. But the story about Heimo, who win it in overtime on this goal from King of Apes. As you see it again right there. As we will go back into the booth, we got a quick look at the final stats there. As Brandon Bigsby with you on the call, Heimo with a 4-3 overtime victory. Man, oh man, how about the games we have had here on broadcast today? We started out with a triple OT. We got another OT there in the second game, and then we thought we were maybe going to see double overtime, but Heimo in the dying seconds get that goal from King of Apes to win it and get that extra point. So we're going to take a quick break, get things set up for the fourth and final game, the second between these two teams. But again, massive points on the line here coming up for both of these two teams. The playoff situation, maybe not as dire as, once again, if you did not hear it earlier, Polsky Boys dropped their final 2 games of the season versus Mustakulta, both in regulation. So their final 2 games, no points, 30 games played, 42 points. Tohtorit and Heimo, their chances of making the playoffs improved drastically due to that, especially Tohtorit due to getting that overtime point and holding the tiebreaker currently over Polski boys. So while these two get things set up, we're going to take a break, hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back after this with the final game of our coverage.
Welcome to the SportsGamer Health and Performance Program. Nice to have you here. Here you have a large amount of different workouts from Wellnet, but also material just exclusive for you gamers. In your sessions, we focus mostly on neck and shoulder mobility, back health, and concentration. So give it a try and let us know what you think about it.
Minkä päällä lakukastike maistuu parhaalta? Ei voi tietää, ellei kokeile. Kouvolan lakritsi.
All right, these two teams wasting absolutely no time to get things underway as, once again, we are watching from the perspective of Heimo. They're wearing their home gold uniforms, while Tohtorit in their road white and black. As Heimo got a overtime victory just now over Tohtorit, as still a result there for Tohtorit. They are currently tied with Polski boys in points with one game remaining. We're going to have to clear up some of the tiebreakers potentially, as it currently shows Polski boys ahead of Tohtorit in the standings due to wins, but we're going to have to wait and see, as we'll give you that update as soon as we have it from league administration. But nevertheless, that won't matter if Tohtorit can secure at least a point, as getting Tohtorit a point in this series pushes them past Polski boys into 6th. Heimo currently still at number 9. SSK Esports split their series with Last Dance. They got 3 points in that series, so they maintain their spot as of now ahead of Heimo. Both have 5 games remaining as a female by scammer. Robbery there. As critical points on the line. And I also have one more update. Blackbirds have lost their final game of the season to Last Dance. So Last Dance have officially clinched the number 1 position in the standings. Blackbirds are officially locked into a relegation playoff. So if you're the Blackjacks, you feel a lot better about where you stand in terms of that. You still are going to have to watch out for Nova, who have 9 games left and 9 points to make up. But nevertheless, a big result there for some of the teams looking to avoid that relegation playoff. So Blackbird's going to have to keep their spot in the division against one of those up-and-coming Pro Division teams in a few weeks' time. We've got more pressing matters here as Heimo and Tohtorit vying for one of the final playoff spots. But as we mentioned, we want to give you all the updates throughout the playoff picture and throughout the standings as we got them. So that's where things currently stand. Heimo is 9th, Tohtorit currently in 7th. And trying to surpass Polsky Boys in the standings with at least 1 point. If they don't, it will come down the tiebreaker. And again, we're getting all the information on that to make sure that we give you the correct implications. But 1 point would surpass them past Polsky Boys. A regulation loss make things a little bit more hairy for them as working it in the offensive zone now. Our Tohtorit is controlling it. Is Sega Stormy. Off of that puck and found again by Oyola. Oyola working at the corner, pass in front, puck loose, battled for and found by Heimo. Puck loose behind the net. King of Apes pressuring Carcass, and it finds its way to Moja at the point. Moja moving back forward, goes to Emil behind the net, trying to give it back to Moja there, but that passes off and that will force a reset. Heimo on the breakout. Taking their time as they move it in past the blue line. Moja behind the net. At the right corner, now to King of Apes. He got the game-winning goal for Heimo in that overtime. Still working, trying to pass it across, but disrupted. And now here comes Tohtorit down the other end. 4 minutes to play here in period 1. Oyola tried to get that opportunity. Goes off the pad of Vamu. That'll count as a shot on net, but not all that dangerous nevertheless. Heimo once again on the attack. Emil bumped from behind by Carcass and turns it over. Picked up by Harlow. Less than 2.5 to play here in the opening frame. Still a scoreless draw so far. Looking for our opening goal. King of Apes works it in the neutral zone, trying to get past the blue line, but Emil was a little bit ahead of him there. And offsides will be called with 89 seconds to go. Face off, picked up there by Heimo and will be dumped in. Puck given chase and found by Sniperty. Bumped off of that puck and picked up behind the net by Harlow. It turned over and Moja gets it. Shot on, blocked in front by Carcass. Heimo still pushing, however. 8 seconds to go. Sadapuekla to King of Apes at the point. Skates forward, trying to find an option. Emil gets the shot off. Puck still loose, but found by Harlow, who will kill off the rest of the time to end the opening period. 0-0. Still your score here is some opportunities there, mostly for Heimo. A couple of chances for Tohtorit, but none able to find the back of the net. And what is a critical game is we kind of rushed through everything there as the game was going on, and we had a lot of action happening in front of us. But once again, just to give you the update in a much more condensed and slower fashion, Last Dance have officially clinched the #1 spot. Mythix, Parasite, Mustakulta, none of them can pass them. Last Dance have #1 that is confirmed and locked in. Mustakulta, with all 6 points in their series of Polsky Boys, it is big time for them. Gives them a much better chance at clinching that 4 seed. However, Exen still could match their point total at 54, so they're going to have to wait and see how Exen's final 2 games go. As of now, Polsky Boys and Tohtorit are tied at 42 points apiece. This is Tohtorit's final regular season game, what we are watching right now. So if they get a point of any kind, they will pass Polsky Boys. That will drastically improve their playoff chances. If they lose in regulation, it will come down to a tiebreaker. SSK, 4 games remaining. They currently hold on to the final playoff spot, but they're probably watching this game right now of Heimo, who are 4 points behind them and have 1 game in hand, which is the game going on your screen. Everybody got that? Good. We are underway for the second period as Heimo has in the offensive zone between the legs, deep there from Emil. Disrupted on that play. Now Tohtorit rushes down the other end. Oyola controls it. Pass across, shot. Squeaked its way in, but Vamu barely able to save that. A few more inches forward, and Tohtorit get the opening goal. But it was not to be, and an offensive zone faceoff now going to come up for Tohtorit. Heimo do win it in their own zone. King of Apes will move this up forward. As, by the way, I do want to give you one more quick update. We just got word from League Administration. If Tohtorit and Polsky Boys do end up tied, Polsky Boys will have the advantage. That is due to mutual games. So it's not on points per game. It's going to be based on mutual games. Polsky Boys won 2-1 in overtime and regulation in their 2 matchups with Tohtorit. So Tohtorit have to get at least a point to surpass Polsky Boys in this situation. Otherwise, they have the danger of being surpassed by one of VNexus, Heimo, or SSK Esports. There's a power play upcoming here for Tohtorit after that Heimo penalty. They have it at the point. Carcass moving it forward and gives it up. Checked away, however, as that was Carcass working on that play. Up is all the way out in the neutral zone and will force a reset. Offside calls. Tohtorit tried to work their way back into the offensive zone. So once again, we just want to make sure we're clear. Tohtorit do not own the tiebreaker on Polsky Boys. Polsky Boys have the tiebreaker based on mutual games. So a must-point opportunity here for Tohtorit, who have the man advantage but are struggling to find their way so far. Down to 47 seconds on this power play. Yet to get a shot on net. Oyla with it. Moves it over. Carcass, one-time shot from Oyla, saved by Vamu. Up loose behind the net. Recovered by Tohtorit as that one-timer to Pro Filipaki was open. They recovered one! Play off of the right pad. As we're back to even strength, but Tohtorit had the opening goal right in their sights, but Vamu denies them. Tohtorit trying to get it back on this possession, however. Oyla controlling it, pass across. Beats Vamu that time around. And Tohtorit strike first, the 1-0 lead. As you get another look at it here. It was a majestic save by Vamu on the first possession prior, but Heimo were not able to really get out of their own zone. Had it in the neutral zone for a moment, immediately turned it over, and Tohtorit comes down the other end and makes them pay. A 1-0 advantage now for Tohtorit. They draw first blood. Harlow, the centerman, with his 15th goal of the season. Now Heimo looks to come up with a response. It's dumped into the offensive zone by King of Apes, and that race to the puck going to be won by Sega Stormy. Now here comes Tohtorit down the other end. Oyla controlling it, looking pass across again off the glove of Vamu on that shot. Up loose behind the net, wraparound attempt there was disrupted. Man, all of a sudden Tohtorit have a pep in their step. They must have heard that tiebreaker implication as they are buzzing right now. A much different looking team from what we saw in the first period. As we are over halfway through this game, Tohtorit just took a 1-0 lead. Heimo now have possession. The Apes controlling it. Moving it into the neutral zone, dumps it in. And Carcass gets to that puck before Emil does, so now Tohtorit takes over possession. Harlow with it, moves it back to Carcass. Carcass skating forward. Blocker side. And Tohtorit double their lead to 2. And we talked about Carcass. He handles the puck arguably more than any defenseman in the division. I think maybe King of Apes would have something to say about that. It's definitely between those two. But he gets it right there at the point, moves it forward, and makes them pay. And Tohtorit, with a heavy advantage here, is Carcass and King of Apes. They're number 1 and number 2 in time with the puck. In the entire division. We've seen why today, but it's Carcass that turns it into a goal there. As Tohtorit still not maybe done. Pro Filipaki controlling it, but Nice job there from Snipery defending it and picked off by Satapoika. Remember, Heimo, they were down 2 in game 1 as well. It was a 3-1 advantage for Tohtorit. Before Heimo were able to find the pair of goals and push it to overtime. Eventually took it with a King of Apes goal late. They have slowed down significantly in the second period. Tohtorit has taken full control of the game as a shot there from King of Apes was blocked in front. Sega Sormi controls at the corner. Poke checked from behind, but found by Carcass. Oyula had it, but lost there as King of Apes defended it rather well. Little deke there from Moja, but to no avail as Oyula picks it off and moves it back to Sega Stormy, who gives it to Carcass to set up the breakout and slow things down. 3.5 to play here in period 2. Tohtorit with a 2-goal advantage. They have been all over Heimo in the second period, but they turned it over there. Here comes Heimo in the offensive end. Satapoika at the point to King of Apes. Looking for a space to shoot or pass. Still searching. Gives Moja a shot on. Saved there by Stammer. Puck found by Sniper at the corner. Picked off by Carcass on that pass, who will dump this out. And an icing going to be called as Satapoika will get to that puck. And Heimo will get an offensive zone face-off with 1:22 remaining here. Face off to the right side of Stammer. Tied up. Won by Emil. Emil with it, but lost it as Oyula will pick it up after he was bumped from behind. Tohtorit now in the offensive zone, but not for long as King of Apes takes possession. 7 seconds now. Turned over by Heimo in the neutral zone. Pass from Oyula goes backwards, and he'll just slap that one away and kill off the rest of the time. Tohtorit, a pair of goals in the second period, a 2-0 advantage. As they surged in that second frame. And arguably could have been 3 goals if not for a couple of saves from Vamu. So it'll be interesting to look at the stats there. A Heimo heavy first period and a Tohtorit heavy second period. And there you see him right there. Tohtorit with that advantage in both goals and time on attack, as we'll get another look at the 2 goals. The first one being that shot in front from Harlow. Pass from Oyula, and then not too long after, a snipe from Carcass pushing up from that left defense spot and beating Vamu top shelf. And Tohtorit hold a 2-0 lead. Can they hold on for 20 more minutes? It would be massive for their playoff hopes. They came into the day with, if they were able to accrue 5 points, a 67.4% chance to make it. Heimo with 1 point, their chances, or excuse me, with 2 points, their chances will go down to 21.37. So this is a big 20 minutes coming up. Again, some of those percentages likely changed a bit due to Polski boys losing their final 2 games versus Mustakulta. Both of these teams probably with a bit of a higher percentage than that because of those results. As here comes Tohtorit down the other end, shot on, saved there by Vamo. Tohtorit still pushing in the offensive end. Carcass at the point, gives it up to Profilipaki. Shot from afar. Probably able to keep that one out, but still not avoiding all danger, as that was the chance there. And now Heimo counterattack as they take possession. Satapoika up the left boards, pass in front, puck loose. Still there, found by Snipery, and gives it to King of Apes at the point. King of Apes trying to create some space for himself. Gives it to Satapoika. Satapoika back to King of Apes. Holding it, pressured by Oyula. Still controlling the possession, looking for something to open up. Gives it up to Satapoika back at the point. He's looking for an option. Back to King of Apes. Those 2 defenders working it at that point, just trying to open something up, but Tohtorit clogging the lanes. King of Apes gets some space, pass in front, picked off there by Sega Stormy. Heimo, however, gets possession back in the neutral zone. Tohtorit to King of Apes in the right corner. Looking, turning, puts on a move, but can't get the shot off. And here comes Tohtorit down the other end. Oila moving with speed. Poke checked off of his stick. Puck loose. Found first, however, by Oila, who snuck up behind him and got it. Carlo giving it up to Sega Stormy at the right point. Poke checked off the stick, recovered again there by Pro Filipaki. Oila now with it. Oila looking, but poke checked off. 11 minutes here to play. Heimo down by a pair, and they lose possession there as here comes Oila, gives it to Sega Stormy, but disrupted there on that play as he tried to split the two defenders. Heimo up the right boards, gives it up. Timer was blocked. Quick chance for Heimo, but better defense by Tohtorit. They get it back. Tohtorit tripped up there, and a power play coming up for Heimo. Could this be what the doctor ordered? As Carcass will head to the box for tripping. And Tohtorit gonna have to man up on the penalty kill here. As Carcass heads to the box. Leads this team in penalty minutes, 24 coming into the day. That is double the amount of any other Tohtorit skater. Been one of the few weaknesses for him so far this season, and he'll have to sit on the side and hope that this team can kill off that infraction as Heimo control it in the offensive zone. King of Apes have it. Whiffs out a point. The one-time shot there saved by Stammer. Heimo still with possession, however. King of Apes gives it over on the bounce pass to Emil, trying to work it to Tohtorit, but the pass was behind him and now will force a reset. Halfway through the Heimo power play. King of Apes past the blue line, lost that puck, but it's recovered. King of Apes gets it back, working on the side of the net, now in the corner. Gives it to Moja, the pass across is open, but nobody there, and a penalty called. It's going to go against Emil. Let's see what happened. Looks like it's likely going to be an interference call. And it is just battling for positioning in front, trying to get that pass there. That's who Moser was looking for, but couldn't find him, and now we know why. So 4-on-4 coming up here. A big, big break there for Tohtorit, as they're probably going to have a power play here. With a good amount of time remaining, there's a shot from Oila, saved by Vamu. As Carcass now out of the box, a minute 20 to go on this power play now for Tohtorit, but Heimo with no time to just dump this and clear off the time. They have got to find goals and quick. You know, a few teams watching this game with heavily invested interest. Polsky Boys, SSK Esports, and V-Nexus especially. Tohtorit control it, and as of now, you can see their chances to playoffs increase. A shot on, saved on the breakaway from Vamu. That was Harlow that had that chance. A pass across. Fiber extends the lead to 3 for Tohtorit. As we'll get another look at it. Beautiful pass across. Carcass finds his fellow defender in Sega Stormy. They almost kind of reversed positions there, the defenders and the wingers. And Tohtorit now up by 3, and could that be the goal that saves Tohtorit? Remember, after Sunday's games, Tohtorit had just over a 5% chance to make the playoffs. They look done and dusted. They're 3-6-1 in their last 10 games coming into the day, but they had 2 massive results against Parasite, collected 5 points against Parasite yesterday, a 1-0 overtime win, and a 4-2 regulation win. That's what kept their hopes alive. And now, with the results falling in around them, and with 2 potential big goals there in the second period to make it a 2-0 lead, and in that goal right there, Tohtorit could find their way to a 4-point result in this series with Heimo if they can hold on, as they get another chance there by Vamo, however. It's Heimo pressuring in desperate measures. Less than 90 seconds to play, down by 3. Another shot there, saved by Vamo, and he will freeze it with just 67 seconds to play. So the tiebreaker scenarios will more than likely lead to nothing for Polsky Boys and Tohtorit, barring a massive collapse. As remember, they came in tied with Polsky Boys at 42 points, so they would only need one to surpass them. While for Heimo, they still find themselves 2 points shy of that final playoff spot. And you still have V-Nexus to worry about, who are right behind them, trailing by 3 points with 5 games remaining. Less than 60 seconds to go. Heimo in the offensive end. King of Apes controlling it at the right point, circling around and gives it to Mojo. Mojo looking, gives it back to King of Apes. King of Apes stopping, looking, no options. Finds one in Snipery, but a shot blocked in front by a few Tohtorit defenders. Heimo still pushing. As Emil has it at the right boards. 30 seconds to go. Now shot in front there. Doesn't go on net. Hit off of a stick there of one of the defenders. There's a breakaway for Oila. Backhand there. Doesn't get the shot off. A nice job defensively by Sada Pueka to break that up. There's another chance for Oila. King of Apes breaks the play up. Pass out there. Leads to a shot, but it's saved by, or rather goes wide there. Past Vamu. Heimo in the offensive end. Poke checked away. Delayed penalty called against Heimo with 3 seconds to go. Snipery will head to the box. And Tohtorit, in the most critical game of their season, the final game of the regular season, step up in convincing fashion. Stammer, phenomenal. Carcass and Sega Stormy with 2 of the 3 goals on defense. Harlow with the other one. As time will expire and Tohtorit are still alive. A 3-0 victory. In their final game of the regular season, they go up to 45 points. They pass Polsky Boys in the standings, and now all they can do is sit, watch, and hope for the best. As we'll give you the full breakdown of the standings a little bit later on. But as of now, as we actually had some results pull in between these games as well, as of now, Tohtorit in good standing with the playoff picture. They move up to 6 and now have given themselves a little bit of cushion after 4 points secured in this series, while for Heimo, have to feel a little disappointed. Only 2 points. Big that they got that overtime win now, but 38 points with 4 games remaining. They trail SSK Esports for the final spot by 2 points. Both sides have 26 games played. So you get a look at the stats there. 15 shots to 7 in favor of Tohtorit. The time on attack was rather even, just 10 seconds separating the two, as we'll bring you back into the studio here. Brandon Bigsby with you, better known as B Major. As, man, oh man, what action that we had. What a way to end off our regular season here on the broadcast side of things. If you weren't with us earlier on for our first series, we had Parasite versus Mythix. The story of that series, the battle for the 2 seed. Mythix trying to clinch it. They needed at least 5 points. We're not able to get that done, but we're able to split with them 3 points apiece. So Parasite still alive for that number 2 seed, but their chances of clinching it did drastically increase. Mythix now with a 93.88% chance at clinching the number 2 seed. Parasite with just a 5.95% chance. So currently those two teams separated by 3 points. We're going to come down to those final couple of games and we'll see how that unfolds. Not sure if those two teams are playing those today or if they're going to play those tomorrow. But nevertheless, Mythix looking good to clinch the number 2 seed, barring a couple of losses in their final 2 games. The big story, however, in terms of the playoff picture was Tohtorit versus Heimo. We talked about this a little bit. Heimo looked good a couple of days ago. They were at 91% odds to make the playoffs after Monday's games. Tohtorit, after Sunday's games, were just over 5% to make the playoffs. They looked completely out of it, but they got 5 critical points against Parasite, an upset I think many would consider, got themselves back into the hunt, came in today with a decent chance at over 30%, and now, after securing 4 points, Tohtorit have a 60.8% chance to make the playoffs, while Heimo have gone down to 21.37. That is how big the shift is with that one series right there. So we said that we were going to have big series here on broadcast today, folks. We wouldn't lie to you, at least not on purpose. We might make a mistake every now and then, but we would not deliberately lie to you. These two teams lived up to the billing of how critical those 4 games were. And now we'll see if those games are in. Let's try to kill off a little bit of time and let the teams get those games in. We'll give you a look at how things look here at the end of today. There could still be some results trickling in. Just remember that. So this is not final, but there are a few things we do know for certain. Last Dance are clinched at the number 1 seed. They cannot lose it. Nothing can happen to take them out of that spot. Last Dance are your number 1 seed. They will face off against whoever earns that 8th seed in 2.5 weeks' time. Another big story, Vapor automatically relegated. That is locked in, official, and confirmed. They have played all of their games. They are last in the standings. Nova have surpassed them due to a couple of wins today. So Nova also technically still alive in the playoffs. They have 8 games remaining. As you can see, they have 4 games in hand compared to SSK. You do the math, it's a little bit tricky. There's a 13-point gap there. They're going to have to earn about 12, so it's dicey. They're going to have to virtually win out, but at bare minimum, they know that they are safe from automatic relegation. And not only that, but the line is also clear for them to see what they need to do to avoid playing in a relegation series, as Onsei Esports and Blackbirds have both finished off their regular season campaigns. Blackbirds lost both of their games to Last Dance earlier today. Those results are in. They are final. And not only that, but they did not gain a point in either of those games as well. So Blackbirds will have to play a relegation series. Onsei Esports will as well. Really, the last spot comes down to Goons. They hold on to that number 12 spot as the Blackjacks have surpassed them in the standings officially. Blackjacks eliminated from playoff contention. They cannot get in due to SSK Esports and Heimo earning the amount of points that they did. So the Blackjacks cannot move up any further other than the formality of maybe being a 9 or a 10 or an 11. But regardless, they're safe from a relegation series. That was the big thing for them. A pretty significant one as well, considering how slowly they started out the season. So really, it's down to who gets that number 12 spot. V-Nexus and Goons are the 2 teams that could still potentially slide down. If Nova are able to pass Goons, that is where you would be safe. They need 8 points to do that. They have 8 games remaining. That's a point per game pace. And, you know, the math pretty friendly and on their side there, but obviously we've seen crazy things happen. Any team can lose any series in this division, as Tohtorit showed us with winning 5 points over Parasite yesterday. So Nova, they know where the line is. They'll more than likely pass Onsei. They will more than likely pass Blackbirds. The biggest key, can they pass Goons for that number 12 spot? That would push Goons down because Goons are done. V-Nexus, more than likely safe as well, as they still have 5 games remaining and are still very well in the playoff hunt. However, V-Nexus lost to Nova, actually, 3-2. We're just seeing that result come in. That was a regulation loss as well. So that is a big result in the playoff standings as well. So a lot of things happening in the Elite Division. Make sure to go to sportsgamer.gg to keep everything updated as things continue to cycle through and we continue to see these standings take shape. But that is where things stand as of now. Again, if you want to keep the updates, sportsgamer.gg, go over to that Elite Division tab. You can see how things continue to form and take shape. But that's how things look at the end of our coverage here today. As this will be our final day of ECL coverage until the playoffs start. We will be back with ECL playoff coverage on May 26th. That is a Monday, 2 weeks from next Monday. So we'll have about a 17 to 18 day break. But between that, we're not going to be done with hockey. We have got the SG World Cup match day number 2. You can find coverage of that right here live on twitch.tv/sportsgamergg, as we'll have Czechia and Norway matching up, followed by the matchup between Great Britain and France. You can catch that right here tomorrow, Thursday, May 8th, live on twitch.tv/sportsgamergg. You can also find us live on our X and YouTube accounts at SportsGamer. GG's. Make sure you guys check that out. Soapily and Drew Goldfarb did a great job on the call yesterday for the opening day of coverage in the SG World Cup. Awesome tournament. multiple different countries represented. You're not going to want to miss out on that, as we will have about a 2.5-week break here for our ECL coverage before coming back for the playoffs. But the hockey does not stop there, so make sure you tune in for that coverage here tomorrow at twitch.tv/SportsGamerGG, as we will bring you back into the booth one more time. A big thank you to everyone behind the scenes that makes this possible. Our amazing sponsors, COVID Unlockability, Game Changer, and WellNet, the SportsGamer GG staff, Ken and company, who make this thing run. A big shout out to our amazing producer, Chris Ryan, for putting on everything you're seeing with our broadcast. Thank you all for tuning in and spending your Wednesday evening for us, or afternoon if you're along with me on the North American side of things. Thank you all for joining us. We'll be right back with you in a couple of weeks for playoff time in the Elite Division. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Brandon B. Major Bigsby. We'll see you guys in a few weeks.
Welcome to the SportsGamer Health and Performance Program. Nice to have you here. Here you have a large amount of different workouts from WellNet, but also material just exclusive for you gamers. In your sessions, we focus mostly on neck and shoulder mobility, back health, and concentration. So give it a try and let us know what you think about it.